Chapter 2777. Ugh, this Guangyin is still young and strong. I haven't thought about choosing another head yet. Old Zhao was shocked and said quickly. Oh, then why did I hear that Zhao Qibing is the young head of your hidden house? Linny frowned and asked faintly. Maybe this kid just came back to the hidden house and his confidence is inflated? Old Zhao said carefully. Is that so? Linny asked back. Where's Zhao Qibing? Why isn't he out? Ugh, that Zhao Qibing went to visit his relatives, he's not home, Old Zhao said quickly. I see, forget it then. I wanted to help him break his leg, but since he's not here, forget it, Linny said regretfully. Old Zhao paused, but he knew that Linny was probably bullshitting. He had no intention of helping Zhao Qibing break his leg at all. He was just making him feel bad, but Old Zhao still said, It's fine, since it's not possible this time. I'll let Zhao Qibing come to you personally to break his leg, there's no rush. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If I don't break it this time, I might not want to break it next time. We'll see, Linny said. Old Zhao was speechless, thinking that Linny was messing with him, but he didn't dare to argue. Then he can only blame it on Qibing's bad luck. Let him try his luck. Maybe you'll be in a good mood and break his leg again? Old Zhao didn't hide the fact that Qibing had a broken leg. From his point of view, Lin Yi was related to Yu Ning from House Yu, so it was obvious that he knew about Qibing's thousand-legged training. This kind of broken leg was something that everyone had a tacit understanding about. Haha, Linny smiled. Since Zhao Qibing is hiding, forget it then. Old Zhao was very embarrassed, but when he turned around, he saw Uncle Zhu bringing Zhao Qikuan in. He was overjoyed. Qikuan, young Master Lin purposely came to our hidden house to bring you to the Sky Elixir Sex test. You have to listen to him along the way. All right. Qikuan looked at Old Zhao, his reply a little coldly. He'd been treated coldly by the hidden Zhaos for a long time, and since that was the case, there was no need for him to feign civility with them. He was just a little curious as to why his grandpa was so respectful to Lin Yi, even calling him Master Lin. Before the Hidden House Summit, Lin Yi seemed to have a huge grudge with the Hidden House. And they were trying to kill Lin Yi, but now, it seemed like the situation had changed. Lin Yi dared to come to the Hidden House alone, and his grandfather's attitude was completely different from before. What did this mean? Boss, thank you for thinking of me, Zhao Qikuan was very touched that Lin Yi came to the Sky Elixir sect alone. He felt that Lin Yi was even more loyal than the people of House Zhao. We came back together from the Ice Palace test, so naturally, we have to come back together for the Sky Elixir test. Lin Yi stood up and patted Zhao Qikuan's shoulder. Let's go, it seems like old Zhao is quite afraid of me here. I won't stay here to scare people anymore. Ugh. Old Zhao laughed dryly. Of course not, young Master Lin, I can't wait to welcome you. Why would I be afraid? Oh, then aren't you afraid that I'll kill you? Lin Yi's face turned solemn as he asked faintly. Qikuan was startled as well. He didn't think that Lin Yi would ask something like this. Wasn't he trying to turn on his grandpa? But this was the hidden house. If they fought, would he and Lin Yi be a match for them? But Old Zhao's answer made Zhao Qikuan speechless. Old Zhao's face froze, stunned as he looked at Lin Yi. Young Master Lin, you must be joking. We have no grudges, why would you want to kill me? No grudges? Lin Yi smiled and ignored him, pulling Qikuan with him as they walked out of the Zhao's guest room. Old Zhao looked at Lin Yi and Zhao Qikuan's backs, finally letting out a sigh of relief. He sat on the sofa, clutching his heart. Head, are you all right? Elder Mion was sweating as well. I'm fine. Who would have thought that Lin Yi would be this strong now? The pressure he gave me just now was too much. We don't know if Zhao Qikuan's going with him will be a blessing or a curse. Old Zhao said worriedly. Well, Head, maybe we should change our strategy? To Qikuan. Elder Mion wasn't elder by. He didn't have any favoritism for Zhao Qibing, nor did he have any dislike for Zhao Qikuan. As far as he was concerned, whoever was more useful to the hidden house would be the one to take over. It was a very normal thing. But this isn't fair to elite soldier. Old Zhao was a bit troubled. He didn't feel this much pressure when facing Lin Yi in the past, but after seeing him today, Old Zhao really couldn't take it. But it's obvious that Lin Yi doesn't like Zhao Qibing, and is closer to Zhao Qikuan. Elder Mion said carefully. Man, I'll think about it. Old Zhao waved his hand helplessly. Lin Yi and Zhao Qikuan left the hidden house together, and Zhao Qikuan was very curious about what had happened today. He got in Lin Yi's car and couldn't help but ask, "Boss, why does my grandpa look like he's scared of you?" "I can insta-kill him, of course he'd be scared." Lin Yi smiled. "You probably don't have any other information channels these days, so you don't know what's going on outside." "Yeah, boss, you can insta-kill my grandpa? My grandpa is a sky class early phase. Could it be that your strength now?" Zhao Qikuan's eyes went wide, shocked. "You're a sky class too?" "No, I'm just earth class late phase." Lin Yi shook his head. "But I have the strength to insta-kill sky class, pretty much anyone below sky class mid-phase." "Fuck boss, you're that strong? Doesn't that mean you're the strongest under sky class?" Zhao Qikuan was surprised. "No wonder my grandpa was so scared. No wonder they didn't make things difficult for me recently, so that's the reason." Chapter 2778. I'm not the first. Let's get going. Lin Yi started the car and followed the directions on the invitation. Similar to the training in the Ice Palace, Lin Yi drove through a couple of cities. There were very few people around. At most, he could see a few villages, and as he went further, he couldn't even see a village anymore. But the weather here wasn't too bad, unlike the Ice Palace where it was snowing and hard to drive. The roads here were all dirt roads, but because of the dry weather, it didn't affect the speed at all. After another afternoon, Lin Yi's car finally arrived at the location of the invitation, the Sky Elixir Inn. Yes, at the foot of this desolate mountain, a luxurious inn suddenly appeared. This was the registration place for the trial takers of the Heavenly Elixir School, which was specially prepared for trial takers. The difference between this place and the Ice Palace was that there were no normal people here, and the inn was isolated. Perhaps it was because of the geographical location of the Sky Elixir sect that there weren't any villages here, or perhaps it was because the Sky Elixir sect didn't like having normal people around. Lin Yi parked the car in the parking lot and got out with Qikuan. There were a couple of cars parked here as well. They didn't know if they belonged to the other participants or the Sky Elixir sect itself. "You too. This isn't a normal inn. If you don't have an invitation, please go back." As soon as the two of them entered the lobby of the inn, a man in plain clothes stopped them and spoke politely. "We're here for the test," Lin Yi said faintly. "How can freelancers have an invitation?" "I see." The man didn't get angry, only nodding to Lin Yi. "If that's the case, please show us your strength, and I'll help you register." Lin Yi and Qikuan channeled their arts and showed their strength. Lin Yi was Earth Class Late Phase, and Qikuan was only Mystic Mid-Phase Peak. But the rules were simple this time. As long as one was Mystic and above, they could participate. There was no limit, and so the man nodded in satisfaction. "Since you two are practitioners, there's no need to check the invitation. Please show me your IDs, and I'll get you a room card." Lin Yi and Qikuan handed their IDs over. Lin Yi saw Qikuan channeling his arts, and he suddenly remembered Qikuan's strength. He was only a Mystic Mid-Phase Peak, and that was way too weak. He was also one of the few who didn't get anything out of it. Even when he didn't get anything out of it, he was still so loyal to Lin Yi, helping Lin Yi with information. It was truly rare. But when Lin Yi first met him, he was the same as him, a Mystic Mid-Phase Peak. He couldn't help Qikuan increase his strength, and after he was locked up, Lin Yi didn't have the chance to help him even after he became an Earth class. Lin Yi didn't think too much about it. It was only now that Lin Yi felt the need to help Qikuan. After registering their IDs, Lin Yi and Qikuan took the room card and were about to go upstairs when they heard footsteps and voices. It seemed like the other practitioners had arrived before them. "Did you hear? The Everyday sect sent someone, and on the way, the disciples of the Holy Fist Palace got into a fight with him, but they didn't get anything out of it. I heard that 2 people came, and one of them went back before the test." One of them said, "Ah, no way. Is this for real? That strong? It really is the first demon sect." The other person said in shock, "Isn't that Zhang Naipeo? But I heard that he wasn't that strong." Back then, during the Ice Palace's trial, he was beaten into a cripple. "Shoo, walls have ears, don't let Zhang Naipeo hear about it." The first person said, panicking, "Let's not talk about whether the Ice Palace test is real or not. Even if it is, we losers don't understand the matters of the strong." "Damn, you're a sky class early phase. The other person paused, not expecting his friend to be so cowardly. That Zhang Naipeo, I heard that he's only an Earth-class late-phase peak. There's still a huge gap between you and him. That's true, but Zhang Naipeo's arts are really weird, and so are his techniques. He's known as the #1 under Sky-class mid-phase, and I heard that he can even meet Sky-class mid-phase masters without a problem. I'm only Sky-class early phase. The person smiled nonchalantly, not thinking that this was anything to be ashamed of. Alright, he's strong, but I don't know if the Feng Nitian from the ancient house Feng, who is said to be able to compete with Zhang Naipeo in the Ice Palace test, will these two fight again? The other person said expectantly, right, bro, isn't your surname Feng too? Do you know the ancient house Feng? Let's not talk about this. The first person shook his head and was about to say something when he suddenly said, someone's here. This was a good reason for him to end the conversation. In actuality, Lin Yi heard their conversation. The person who came downstairs was a Sky-class early phase, but it was obvious that he didn't have much experience and didn't know how to defend himself. It'd be too late if Zhang Naipeo heard him. But Lin Yi, naturally, wasn't interested in gossiping with Naipeo. He was just curious, what kind of weird martial arts did this Naipeo learn to become the #1 below Sky-class mid-phase? Didn't that mean he was the same as him? Lin Yi couldn't help but shake his head. It seemed like this Zhang Naipeo wasn't going to just go away. Pin Liang hadn't left for long, and Zhang Naipeo was already here. Chikuan's face changed as he looked at Lin Yi worriedly. He didn't have any conflict with Naipeo, and he was the one who betrayed Feng Nitian. He wasn't worried about Naipeo's revenge, but Lin Yi had crippled Naipeo last time. Would he just let it go? Chapter 2779. But since his father said so, he couldn't refute it anymore. He could only say, I'm just angry that third brother didn't tell me what he was doing and made decisions in private. It's fine to participate in the trial this time, but what if he deliberately sent Xianxia to his death? Impossible. Am I that kind of person? How could I do such an immoral thing? Feng Tianhu snorted. No matter what, I'm still a member of the Feng family. I can't kill each other. It's hard to say, right? Feng Tianlin sneered and said indifferently, you know what you've done. Whatever you say, I'm going to see against the heavens. Feng Tianhu said as he stood up and left. Feng Tianlin was so angry that he pointed at his back and couldn't say anything for a long time. He was also deeply helpless. The family was scheming against each other, and they couldn't relax for even a moment. Otherwise, they would be consigned to eternal damnation. This time, Feng Shisan's matter was a wake-up call, reminding him to be more careful of his younger brother in the future. Father, you see. Feng Tianlin looked at grandfather Feng helplessly. Tianlin, you have to understand that if there's less competition in a family, then it's not good for the family's development. Grandfather Feng sighed and said, I'm old, I have to think about the future of the Feng family. Shisan is talented in cultivation, not worse than against the heavens, but he's too kind and doesn't have any schemes. He's not suited to be a family head. It would be fine if the Feng family was strong, but the current Feng family isn't particularly strong in the ancient era. I haven't reached the peak late stage yet, and our Feng family, including Shisan who just broke through, only has 5 heaven rank experts. It seems that 5 heaven rank experts are very strong, but we don't have a foundation. If an ancient sect really wants to clash with us, then we really won't be able to resist. Feng Tianlin was silent as well. Indeed, the reason why he was able to rise to the top was because of a marriage alliance. He had relied on nepotism to rise to the top, and his means were obviously not strong. Otherwise, he would have been able to suppress Feng Tianhu for so many years. And he also knew that if the Feng family had a strong backing, then it wouldn't be a problem. Just like his relationship with his wife. But these years, his relationship with his wife had gradually declined, and it wasn't as glorious as it used to be. Therefore, the Fengs began to decline rapidly. But, if Against the Heavens recovers, then the poem? Feng Tianlin asked hesitantly. In fact, I acquiesced in this trial. Otherwise, do you really think that Sky Tiger could deceive everyone? In this Feng family, I still have the final say. Old Master Feng laughed and said, Shuren went to participate in the trial to see if he can make some powerful friends. The second is to let him see the world. Otherwise, with his personality, he will be at a disadvantage. I see. Feng Tianlin didn't expect his father to allow this. He was surprised, but he was still worried. But the Heavenly Elixir Sect's trial. Most of the people who went in the past never came back. I'm afraid that the poem. He still has to go out and gain experience. If he can't even get through such a small storm, then he's not qualified to be the family head. Old Master Feng waved his hand and said, "All right. I've made up my mind. There's no need to say anything more." "Yes, Father." Feng Tianlin nodded. Since his father said so, he naturally wouldn't say anything else. He could only pray for Feng Shi and to come back safe and sound. Feng Tianhu didn't stop. As soon as he returned to his room, a noble lady, Feng Tianlin's wife, barged into his room and scolded, "Feng Tianhu, you bastard. Didn't we work together to deal with Su Shihan? Why did you do this to my son behind my back?" "Sister-in-law, you're wrong. Sure, and is a sky-class master now. His strength is the same as mine. He's the future pillar of our Feng family. If I don't go now, when will I? If he doesn't go through the trial, how can he be the family head?" Feng Tianhu quickly shook his head and said, "Think about it. If something happens to Shi, what good will it do to me? I'm looking forward to him coming back victorious and getting a great recovery pill for Against the Heavens. If something happens to him, then not only will there be no chance of getting the pill, but our Feng family will also have no descendants. Even if I'm stupid, I wouldn't do such a stupid thing. If Shiren comes back safe and sound, then wouldn't Against the Heavens be healed? Would he continue fighting with Shiren for the position?" The lady humphed coldly. "I say, sister-in-law, with you here, even if Shiren comes back, he'll still be the heir of the young master. What advantage does Against have? Even if he recovers, I won't let him fight for anything after this. Training in peace is the most important thing," Feng Tianhu said. "Humph. I'll believe you for now. You wouldn't dare lie to me anyway." The lady nodded, believing Feng Tianhu. In the inn of the Sky Elixir sect, Lin Yi tidied up a little and got ready to eat with Chikuan. "Ha! What's this?" Chikuan looked at the pig-like animal that Lin Yi took out from his backpack. He paused, then remembered that this was the skybolt pig that Lin Yi brought to the ice palace last time, wasn't it? He said happily, "Little guy, we meet again?" But the pig didn't pay any attention to Chikuan. He whimpered and jumped into Lin Yi's arms, evidently uncomfortable in the backpack. "We can bring spirit beasts in this test, right?" Lin Yi asked. "Yes, the invitation didn't say that, so it should be fine." Chikuan said awkwardly, "This little guy is pretty cute, but it doesn't look like a spirit beast with any attack skills. We can use it for treasure hunting." Lin Yi didn't hide it. Back in the ice palace, after Lin Yi took Chikuan as his follower, he didn't use Skybolt Pig for treasure hunting anymore. He always used the excuse of going to the bathroom as an excuse, so Chikuan didn't know about the pig's abilities. At that time, Lin Yi didn't trust Chikuan, so he didn't say much. But now, there was no question of Chikuan's loyalty. He was locked up for this long just because he gave him information. It was enough to show how reliable he was. Treasure hunting? Chikuan paused, suddenly thinking of something. Could it be that back in the ice palace, Boss found so many treasures because of this pig? That's right. Lin Yi nodded. Let's go eat. Chapter 2780. Lin Yi carried the pig and went downstairs with Chikuan. The pig didn't need to eat these things, but it was used to eating normal food at home. It hadn't eaten for a few days, so naturally it was hungry. Lin Yi saw Feng Shipian and the other practitioner in the restaurant. Feng Shipian saw Lin Yi and Chikuan, evidently very happy. He waved at them. "Young warriors, come eat with us? It's my treat." Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He didn't think that these two hadn't eaten yet, so he purposely stayed in the room upstairs for a while. Now that they were inviting him, Lin Yi couldn't really reject them. After all, there were only two people in the restaurant. "All right, we'll take it then," Lin Yi said as he brought Chikuan to the empty seat in front of Feng Shipian and the practitioner. "Feng Shipian, let's reintroduce ourselves." Feng Shipian reached out his hand and said politely to Lin Yi, "Lin Yi, this is my follower, Zhao Chikuan." Lin Yi shook hands with Feng Shipian, but he kept an eye on his reaction. What disappointed Lin Yi was that there was no expression on Feng Shipian's face, as if he'd never heard of the name Lin Yi before. In truth, Feng Shipian really hadn't heard of this name. He didn't even know the name Ling Yi. After all, the Ice Palace test was a secret, and the outside world only knew that Feng Nitian and Zhang Naipeo were crippled. As for who did it, no one knew. After all, the Ice Palace still had some power, and the hidden houses didn't dare say anything. As for the two crippled people, it was easy to find out. There were only 2 people from the ancient level who participated in the test, and they were both crippled when they came back. There was no way to hide it. I'm Guxian, a freelancer, working for Feng Bro. The freelancer introduced himself as well. I'm an Earth-class late-phase peak. Hee, I'm just a late-stage Earth-class, a lone cultivator. Lin Yi smiled faintly. This little brother of mine comes from the hidden house Zhao, but he's a bit weak as well. He's only mystic mid-phase peak. Lin Yi's words shocked Feng Shipian and Guxian. Lin Yi was also a rogue cultivator? Then why did he take in a lackey from a hidden house? You should know. Although the hidden plane was not as good as the ancient plane, but compared to a rogue cultivator, it was still an existence that they could only look up to. As a rogue cultivator, Guxian knew that if he went to a hidden house, he would at most be a guard or a disciple. Not to mention accepting other people's children as their underlings. Even becoming their followers also depended on luck. It would be fine if Lin Yi was a sky-class master, but he was only an Earth-class late phase, and he already had a mystic middle phase peak. This was a little unbelievable. Hero Lin, nice to meet you. Feng Shipian didn't look down on Lin Yi. Quite the contrary. He felt that these lone cultivators were the easiest to get along with. There was no need to worry about the conflicts between the ancient houses and sections. As long as they got along, they could become good friends. I come from the ancient house Feng. At this time, Feng Shipian revealed his background for the first time. Even Guxian didn't know about it before. This was also after Lin Yi introduced Zhao Qikuan's background. Ah! Guxian paused, shocked. Feng Bro, you really are from the ancient house Feng? That Feng Nitian. That's my cousin. Feng Shipian said. Too bad. He was so young and became a vegetable. Even now, he hasn't woken up. Although he can't blame others for his lack of skills, this is still a huge blow to our house Feng. I'm here this time to ask for a great recovery pill for him. Lin Yi was shocked. He didn't think that his guess would come true. Feng Shipian really was from the ancient house Feng, and he was Feng Nitian's cousin. He had to be careful. No way? I heard that Feng Nitian is very arrogant and wants to fight for the position of the young head. How can you ask for medicine for him? Isn't that threatening your position? Guxian was obviously a well-informed person. Feng Bro, I see that you're an honest person. Don't let a tiger grow in your boss. If you cure him, he'll come back to threaten you. Feng Bro, don't blame me for talking too much. I'm just thinking for you. Guxian, I know you're thinking for me. It's fine. Feng Shipian shook his head and said nonchalantly, My mother often tells me to be on guard against Nitian, but I always feel that since Nitian is my cousin, I can't just sit back and do nothing, right? Then do you hate people who hurt overpowered? Qikuan probed. Hate? Feng Shipian was taken aback, but he shook his head. In the trial, his skills were not as good as others, so he lost. I know his nature-defying personality. If he didn't want to kill others, they wouldn't have been so ruthless. Actually, I understand what you're saying. I'm not an idiot. How could I not know this? But I think that he's still my brother. Haha, do you know why I'm here for the test? Qikuan smiled and asked. Why? Feng Shipian was curious as well. Normally, the hidden houses wouldn't send people to the sky elixir test. After all, the disciples of the hidden houses weren't very strong. Even the elites of the houses were mostly mystic, and most of them didn't come back. As time went by, the hidden houses stopped sending people. The ancient sects and ancient houses, on the other hand, had more disciples of this level. They wanted to contribute to the sect or the house, so most of the participants were from the ancient level. Because I have a cousin who wants to get rid of me. He told my grandpa to send me here to die. Qikuan sighed. Luckily, boss is protecting me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to come back. Feng Shipian was silent. In fact, when his third uncle asked him to participate in the trial, he already knew what was going on. His third uncle wanted him to either return safely and obtain the great cyclic pill, or die here. Others might not know, but he was very clear that his third uncle had an illegitimate child outside. When he died, he wouldn't be able to recover from his heaven-defying state. His grandfather had no choice but to let that illegitimate child return to the Feng family. Although Feng Shipian knew about this, his character couldn't be changed. But I can't do something like that. Feng Shipian sighed. I won't hide it from you. I was the one who crippled Nitian. Lin Yi said suddenly. Chapter 2781. Naipeo, on the other hand, had confidence in coming here. The Five Elements sect didn't just give Lin Yi a copy of the Sky Elixir sect's map, they also asked for a copy from the Sky Elixir sect for the Everyday and Everyday sect. They didn't want anything to happen to Naipeo during the test. This trial was different from the previous ones. In the previous trials, the purpose of the Heavenly Elixir sect was only to obtain the spiritual herbs and the high deposit that the trial takers had to pay. This time, however, it was all for a plan. Therefore, the Heavenly Elixir sect loosened the conditions of the trial, changing the previous conditions of the Mystic class and Earth class to the Mystic class and above. Others might not know, but as one of the initiators of the Heavenly class island plan, how could they not know the situation? If Naipeo hadn't gotten the map, Pinliang wouldn't have let him take the risk. He'd rather not have the pill, and he'd rather not have to teach Lin Yi a lesson. Of course, Pinliang naturally hoped that Lin Yi would die in the test, but he didn't know why. But he had this feeling that Lin Yi wouldn't die in the test. After becoming the Mad Dragon Master, Pinliang's senses were much stronger than before. He didn't know if this feeling was real or not. Not only did he think that Lin Yi would be fine, but he also thought that Zhang Naipeo would be the one in trouble in the end. But he just couldn't understand it. With Naipeo's current strength, he shouldn't be threatened by Lin Yi at all, especially with two Sky-class mid-phase protecting him. That was even more of a problem. However, Pinliang still felt like he was missing something, but since the two souls had just merged, he couldn't remember what it was. He didn't know what it was. Naipeo saw Lin Yi as well, and his face changed. This was what it meant when enemies met. He never would have thought that he'd meet Lin Yi right after he arrived. Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. Lin Yi, I didn't think you'd come. Looks like Liang Bro was right. You're asking for a beating. I didn't go to Donghai to find you. But you came to me on your own. Naipeo smiled coldly as he strode towards Lin Yi, the two followers behind him following on his left and right. Can we fight each other before the test starts? Lin Yi didn't know the rules, so he turned to Chikuan. As for Naipeo's words, Lin Yi completely ignored them. Sure. As long as the trial hasn't really started, you can make your move. Chikuan explained. But in Sky Elixir territory, you can't kill them. We can't kill them. That's the bottom line. Of course, not including suicide. Naipeo added faintly. Suicide. Lin Yi looked at Naipeo. You're saying that? You want to commit suicide? Heh, we don't know who's going to commit suicide yet. Lin Yi, do you really want to beat me up right now? Naipeo asked. So what if I am? Lin Yi asked. Then don't say I didn't give you a chance. I'll just stand here and let you hit me. I'll give you a chance to vent your anger, but if you don't do it, don't say I look down on you. Naipeo said. Lin Yi looked at Naipeo, confused. He didn't know what was wrong with this guy, asking him to hit him. You're not going to fight back? Of course I won't fight back if you cripple me, but if you don't do it, don't say I'm not going to be nice. Naipeo said. Lin Yi listened to Naipeo's words, his heart filled with questions. Still, he quickly channeled the ninth form of the fiery fist, standing up abruptly. Fiery 8 trigrams palm, ninth form. Don't, Master Lin. Gu Xian seemed to have remembered something. She tried to stop him, but it was too late. But Lin Yi's fiery 8 trigrams palm didn't land on Naipeo's body. Instead, he targeted one of Naipeo's Sky-class followers. Bang! A loud sound rang out, and the left Sky-class follower flew out, landing heavily on the ground far away from the restaurant. Who knew what material the restaurant was made of? But the ground wasn't damaged at all. Perhaps the Heavenly Elixir sect had considered the possibility of conflict between the cultivators here, so they used some special materials. Ah! The follower screamed as his chest became a mess of flesh and blood, caving in. He only screamed once before his eyes rolled back and he fainted. Lin Yi didn't use his full strength, saving some of his strength for escaping. 1. He was afraid that Naipeo would make a move, and 2. he didn't want to break the rules by killing the follower. But, even if Lin Yi held back and didn't kill the follower was now a cripple, and even a great recovery pill wouldn't be able to save him. Lin Yi's attacks now weren't the same as when he was mystic. Nitian could still be saved with a great recovery pill, but this follower wasn't. You! Why did you hit him? Nai Peo was shocked and furious. He was just standing there, letting Lin Yi hit him. He didn't think that Lin Yi would go for the follower behind him. The follower didn't even know what was going on, and he was already a cripple. This was a sky class mid-phase. Even the everyday sect didn't have that many. But, what shocked Nai Peo even more was that Lin Yi could actually injure a sky class mid-phase, and with just one move. Nai Peo's face was dark and uncertain. He wanted to make a move here, but he was worried about Lin Yi's strength, especially since there were 4 people at the same table as Lin Yi. Other than Zhao Qikuan, he didn't know the strength of the other 2, and he didn't dare make a move. Birds of a feather flock together. If Lin Yi could take down a sky-class mid-phase in one move, then who could guarantee that the people around Lin Yi wouldn't be able to do the same? Nai Peo didn't think that he would be defeated so soon after coming to the Sky Elixir sect. And the person who gave him this setback was Lin Yi. This was so similar to the time in the Ice Palace trial. At that time, he was the one who gave Lin Yi a show of strength, turning Lin Yi into a cripple, and now Lin Yi was the one who gave him a show of strength, crippling one of his sky-class mid-phase followers. Chapter 2782. Although Lin Yi was suspected of a sneak attack, whether it was a sneak attack or not, it also showed that Lin Yi's strength was there. Gu Xian believed that if it was him, he would not be able to do it. Moreover, he just clearly felt that the skill that Lin Yi used was actually the 15th style of Heaven class. This skill could only be used by masters in the middle stage of Heaven class, but Lin Yi was obviously only a master in the middle stage of Earth class. Lin Yi, we'll see you in the trial. Zhang Nai Peo finally held back and did not fight with Lin Yi on the spot. First, he was afraid that he would kill Lin Yi directly and affect the trial plan. Second, if he did not use his ultimate skill, he was afraid that he would not be a match for Lin Yi. If Lin Yi took the initiative to attack him, it would be okay, but if he continued to attack his other follower on the right, it would be a bit of a mess, and Zhang Nai Peo would be a commander without an army. Oh! Lin Yi responded indifferently. Humph! Zhang Nai Peo snorted coldly and said to his other follower, Mo Ba, carry Mo Jiu, let's go. Yes, gunslinger. Mo Ba's follower was scared as well. Lin Yi had crippled Mo Jiu with one move, and it was obvious that he was still holding back. If Lin Yi were to attack again, he wouldn't be able to handle it. After listening to Zhang Nai Peo's words, Mo Ba was relieved. He carried Mo Jiu on his back and quickly left the restaurant with Zhang Nai Peo. It could be said that he came in a hurry and left in a hurry. Gu Xian, just now you stopped me because... Lin Yi turned to look at Gu Xian and asked. Ah! Gu Xian came back to his senses. The scene just now was too shocking for him. He did not expect that Zhang Nai Peo, who was so powerful in the legends, who had killed a disciple of the Holy Fist Palace on the trial road, would be thwarted. And the one who defeated him was a rogue cultivator that he had just met. A rogue cultivator that he did not pay much attention to. Before, when Lin Yi said that he had injured Nitian, Gu Xian was only impressed. After all, he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, and it had been a long time since he'd seen it. He hadn't seen it with his own eyes, and it had been a long time, so he didn't really care about it. But now, Gu Xian finally knew. There was a reason why Lin Yi could defeat Nitian. Before, I heard that the disciple of the Holy Fist Palace also hit Zhang Nai Peo and became disabled. I suddenly thought of it. Nai Peo just stood there and let you hit him. Would that be a problem? Gu Xian explained. I also thought of this, so I didn't hit him. Instead, I hit one of his followers. Lin Yi nodded. He wanted to get rid of as many as he could. Nai Peo had brought 2 followers with him this time, and Lin Yi was a bit worried. But now that one was gone, things would be easier. As long as they were in the trial. If he formed an alliance with Feng Shipian, he should be able to fight against Nai Peo and Feng Shipian. He would deal with Nai Peo, and Feng Shipian would balance Mo Ba. Unless Mo Ba was similar to Lin Yi, Feng Shipian, a master at the early stage of Heaven stage, could still deal with him for a while. Yes, although I don't know what is going on. But thinking about it, Zhang Nai Peo didn't do anything before. The disciple of the Holy Fist Palace was disabled. It is very strange, and he took the initiative to let you hit him. I feel that this is very strange. There must be something wrong. Gu Xian said, that's why I stopped you from doing it. Lin Yi nodded and said, I also have this worry. Zhang Naipao is a disciple of the demon sect, and we can't judge him by common sense. It seems that we have to investigate carefully. Don't worry, I will try my best to find out, but what I can find out is actually only on the surface. I can't do anything about things that are too confidential. Gu Xian shrugged and said helplessly. Not long after Zhang Naipao left, another 3 cultivators came. Obviously, they were also here to participate in the trial. But one of them was alone, and his face was pale, as if he was very unlucky. The other 2 were on guard against him, and it seemed that they wanted to keep a distance from him. The disciple with a pale face is the disciple of the Holy Fist Palace. One of his companions was disabled by Zhang Naipao, and because he has a grudge against Zhang Naipao, the other 2 dare not get too close to him. Gu Xian explained to Lin Yi and others in a low voice. Where are the other 2 people from? Lin Yi asked. I don't know. I have news about the disciple of the Holy Fist Palace, because they fought with Zhang Naipao. Gu Xian said. Young hero, would you like to come and sit with us? At this time, Feng Shipian stood up and threw an olive branch to the disciple of the Holy Fist Palace. In fact, he was not stupid, but he was honest and straightforward. He could also imagine that Lin Yi and Zhang Naipao were sworn enemies, and he had sat with Lin Yi before, so it was inevitable that he would be regarded as an enemy by Zhang Naipao. The enemy of the enemy was a friend. The disciple of the Holy Fist Palace had disabled his companion, so he must have hated Zhang Naipao to the core. The disciple of the Holy Fist Palace was stunned. He did not expect that someone would take the initiative to recruit him. The disciples of other sects avoided him, for fear that Zhang Naipao would take revenge on them if they had anything to do with him. He was considering whether he should continue to participate in the trial when someone greeted him. Hello. Are you calling me? The disciple of the Holy Fist Palace pointed to himself and asked with some uncertainty. Of course, I am Feng Shipian, an internal master at the early stage of Heaven Stage. I am a disciple of the ancient Feng family. May I know your name, young hero? Feng Shipian asked with a smile. My name is Li Siba, from the Holy Fist Palace. I am a physical master at the middle stage of Heaven Stage. Li Siba cupped his fists and said in fear and trepidation. Usually, the disciples of the Holy Fist Palace were very arrogant. Although the other party was a disciple of the ancient Feng family, he was only at the early stage of Heaven Stage. Li Siba certainly looked down on him. But the situation was different now. Feng Shipian had taken the initiative to talk to him, which was already giving him a lot of face. Oh, young hero Li, sit down. Let me introduce you to the others. Feng Shipian pointed to Lin Yi and said, This is young hero Lin, a master at the late stage of Earth Stage. Speaking of Lin Yi's strength, Li Siba's eyes flashed a trace of disappointment. In his opinion, Lin Yi's strength was too low. Among these people, Feng Shipian's strength was the highest, but it was impossible for him to compete with Zhang Naipao and the others. Young hero Li, don't underestimate Brother Lin. Although Brother Lin is only a master at the late stage of Earth Stage, he just destroyed one of Zhang Naipao's men in the middle stage of Heaven Stage. It was just one move, so Brother Lin's strength is the strongest among us. Feng Shipian also saw the disdain in Li Siba's eyes, so he explained and even addressed Lin Yi respectfully as Brother Lin. Ah! Li Siba was stunned and looked at Lin Yi in horror. Chapter 2797. Extremely impressed of course. Li Siba knew the strength of Zhang Naipao's men. They were real masters at the middle stage of Heaven Stage, and Lin Yi could destroy them in one move? What kind of terrifying strength was this? He had suffered under Zhang Naipao's hands before, so he knew very well how strong they were. Although he was also a middle stage of Heaven Stage, he didn't get the upper hand against 2 of Zhang Naipao's men. If he didn't run fast enough, he might have been crippled. However, he didn't expect Lin Yi to be able to cripple Zhang Naipao's men, and he was still eating here without any injuries. It was unbelievable. Li Siba greets young hero Lin. Brother Lin, you really are my idol. Brother Lin, you may already know that our disciples of the Holy Fist Palace suffered a great loss in the hands of Zhang Naipao. I thought there was no hope for revenge, but I didn't expect Brother Lin to help us. I am so grateful. Li Siba looked at Lin Yi with admiration. Zhang Naipao and I are enemies, and I crippled him in the Ice Palace last time. It's normal for him to come looking for trouble. It's not like it has anything to do with you. Lin Yi said nonchalantly with a wave of his hand. Damn, Brother Lin, you are so strong? You crippled Zhang Naipeo last time. Did you cripple Feng Nitian as well? Li Siba suddenly turned his head and looked at Feng Shipian. He didn't know why Feng Shipian was sitting with Lin Yi. Didn't Lin Yi destroy a member of the Fengs? Brother Li, you don't need to look at me like that. I know my cousin very well. He's arrogant and domineering. He tried to steal the treasures from Brother Lin in the Ice Palace trial, so he got crippled by Brother Lin. He only has himself to blame. Feng Shipian shook his head. This won't affect my relationship with Brother Lin. In actuality, Feng Shipian wasn't an idiot at all. He came here to get medicine for Nitian, but he didn't show any hostility towards the person who injured Nitian. Instead, he showed friendliness. This was enough to show that Feng Shipian was the type of person who looked like a fool. I see. Li Siba nodded. Brother Lin is so strong. Why don't we nominate Brother Lin to be our captain? We'll form a team and join the trial under Brother Lin's lead. I think that's a good idea. Gu Xian was very impressed by Lin Yi as well. Of course I'm fine with it. With Brother Lin leading our team, it'll be like adding wings to a tiger. Feng Shipian smiled. Lin Yi is my boss. I'll definitely be fine, Chikuan said. And so, Lin Yi became the captain out of nowhere. He couldn't do anything about it. By the way, Ci Ba, where are the two disciples who came with you from? They seem to be on guard against you? Lin Yi asked. Since everyone had chosen him to be the captain, he wouldn't reject it, and called Siba Li Siba. Those two are from the Dark Palace, average strength, Earth class mid-phase. Of course, I'm not looking down on Earth classes. A master like Brother Lin is even stronger than us Sky class masters. Siba was worried that Lin Yi wouldn't be happy, so he added, these two were trying to get on our good side on the way here, wanting to join me and my disciple, but then we met Zhang Naipeo, and my disciple was crippled, so the two of them just kept their distance from us. A disciple of the Dark Palace. Lin Yi had heard of the Dark Palace before, back when Lin Yi came back from West Star Mountain. Lin Yi had heard of them before. All of a sudden, Lin Yi felt a headache. Lin Yi remembered the trip to West Star Mountain, and felt like his memories were a little fragmented. There were a lot of things missing, but he just couldn't remember them. Brother Lin, what's wrong? Do you have a grudge against the Dark Palace? Li Siba saw the frown on Lin Yi's face, and thought that Lin Yi had a grudge against them. Do you need me to teach them a lesson? Nope. Don't do anything stupid. Lin Yi waved his hand. I was just thinking about something else, it's nothing. Alright, Li Siba wanted to show off in front of Lin Yi, but he didn't have the chance to. After a while, more disciples came into the restaurant, some that Gu Xian and the others knew, and some that they didn't. The one that caught Lin Yi's attention was a female disciple from the Ice Palace. Lin Yi thought that Zhao Qijiu or Yu Bing would come, but they didn't. In truth, the Sky Elixirs test was full of danger, and Yu Bing and Qijiu were both people that Lin Yi had asked Xiao to take care of. Naturally, Xiao wouldn't let them come to a test like this, not to mention that Xiao didn't know that Lin Yi was going to participate in the Sky Elixir test. After all, the last time Lin Yi participated in the Sky Elixir test was a coincidence, and Lin Yi didn't have much to do with the Sky Elixir test. At first, Lin Yi thought that he wouldn't meet anyone he knew in the test, but then the door opened, and a cool girl in black walked in carefully. She didn't greet anyone, but found a corner and sat down. Lin Yi spat out the drink he was drinking when he saw who it was. Who else could it be but Yang Qiqi? Lin Yi didn't expect Yang Qiqi to participate in the Sky Elixir test as well. What was she doing here? Was she going to trade for some medicine for her friend? Bro Lin, what's wrong? Shipian asked curiously. Nothing, I just saw someone I know. Lin Yi said. Then tell her to come sit with us? Shipian said passionately. It's okay, she's a bit of a loner. We'll see. Lin Yi shook his head. Lin Yi knew Yang Qiqi's personality very well. Lin Yi wouldn't mess with her if there wasn't anything going on, in case she tried to kill him. After dinner, Lin Yi and the others went back to their rooms to rest. There were a lot of practitioners in the restaurant, and Yang Qiqi didn't notice Lin Yi. She left alone after dinner, and it seemed like she didn't have any friends here. Naipeo didn't know if it was because he was defeated by Lin Yi, but he didn't come back down after he went upstairs, and he didn't eat either. Bro Lin, What's that spirit beast of yours? Why does it look like a pet? It shouldn't be of much use in this test, right? Gu Xian was a knowledgeable man, and he found the spirit beast in Lin Yi's hand strange. Chapter 2783. Lin Yi, on the other hand, wouldn't say too much to Gu Xian. After all, the two hadn't known each other for long, and there was no need for Lin Yi to say too much. I see, I understand now. Brother Lin is a freelancer, and this spirit beast is like a contracted spirit beast, unwilling to part with you. Gu Xian speculated. Lin Yi smiled, but didn't explain. He changed the topic and asked Li Siba. Right, Siba, just what kind of move did Zhang Naipeo use to cripple your disciple? I heard that your disciple only punched Naipeo once, and Naipeo didn't even do anything, yet your disciple was crippled? Yes. Li Siba nodded. I was there, but I was curious as well. Naipeo was just standing there, taking a punch from my disciple, and Naipeo was coughing up blood. He had to take a Xiao Huan pill on the spot, and I thought that my disciple would be able to win. Who would have thought that my disciple would fall to the ground after the punch, suffering from severe internal injuries? I couldn't even ask him about it. Oh? Lin Yi paused, not expecting things to be this weird. He'd thought that Gu Xian was just hearing it from someone else, but now that he heard it, Lin Yi realized that things were way beyond his imagination. Zhang Naipeo didn't do anything, and he got injured instead? And your disciple fainted? Is that so? Isn't it weird? Li Siba smiled bitterly. I'm actually wondering what's going on as well. It seems like I'll have to be more careful when I fight Naipeo. Lin Yi thought about Naipeo. After returning to his room, Lin Yi called Meng Yao to ask if anything had happened back home. Lin Yi only calmed down after hearing that everything was fine. However, what Lin Yi didn't know was that Jiang Wen's plot had begun once more. During this period of time, Jiang Wen had been holding back all this time. In fact, he wouldn't be able to do much in Donghai with Lin Yi around. With Ling Shan's position here, Lin Yi would be the first to think that it was Jiang Wen's doing if there were any strange cases. With no other choice, Jiang Wen was thinking about committing the crime elsewhere. However, to commit a crime in a different place required opportunities. It wasn't something that could be done just because one wanted to. One had to be prepared. However, what made Jiang Wen excited was that the vice leader of the Fire Wolves Gang's Northern Division called him personally, giving him a huge mission. Yanjing City, in a high-class nightclub, Lu Tianli was eating with a big supplier. This supplier's price was much cheaper than the previous one. After a few days of contact, Tianli realized that the boss of this company didn't like much other than going to nightclubs and partying every night. In order to get a better price, Tianli naturally accompanied him every day. After all, a big supplier of this level could not be handled by an ordinary vice president. Boss Lu. This nightclub is very good. I like it very much, especially the decoration style. It makes me feel relaxed and happy. This supplier was called Boss Lang, and he was quite a straightforward person. He didn't put too much pressure on Tianli, only telling him that he was having fun with him. I'll sign a contract with you. This kind of business interaction was actually the simplest. The other party had hobbies, and you just had to cater to them. Tianli ate and drank with Boss Lang every day, so it didn't cost him much. Boss Lang, do you have any more cigarettes? Give me another pack. I have to say, the cigarettes you brought back from Cuba are really strong. It feels different when I smoke them. Tianli was quite familiar with Boss Lang now, so he didn't mind asking for more. Haha, how is it? Didn't I tell you? My cigarettes are different from the ones in your country. I got a friend to make them, so it's completely different. Boss Lang smiled. But I'm out of those cigarettes. I didn't bring much this time, just a few cartons. I gave 2 to Boss Lu, and the rest were all smoked by us. That's all. Tianli was a little regretful, but he had fallen in love with the taste of those special cigarettes these days. He couldn't resist the craving if he didn't smoke them for a day. But there are others. You can try them too. I promise you won't be bad. Boss Lang said as he turned to the person beside him. Little Chui, go get a few cartons of cigarettes from the car, the special ones too. Yes, Boss Lang. Chui nodded and left the room. Your subordinate's name is quite funny. Chui Mianshi, sounds like a hypnotist. Tianli couldn't help but joke after hearing that there were special cigarettes that sounded similar. Haha. Boss Lang laughed and didn't say anything. Not long later, Chui came back with 4 to 5 cartons of cigarettes in his hands. He opened one of them and took out a pack for Tianli, lighting it up for him diligently. Good smoke. Tianli couldn't help but praise after taking a puff. Very refreshing, even better than before. Boss Lang, you're so mean, why didn't you bring out the good stuff earlier? Lil Bro Lu, I thought we weren't close before? We didn't really get along, so I didn't bring it out. Now that we're close, it doesn't matter anymore. Boss Lang smiled. All right, when can we sign the contract, Mr. Lang? Tianli asked, striking the iron while it was hot. Oh, the contract. Sure. Little Chui, go get the contract. Boss Lu and I will sign it now. Boss Lang waved his hand at Chui Mianshi. Yes, Boss Lang. Chui replied and went to prepare. Tianli didn't expect the signing process to be this smooth, and his impression of the CEO Lang increased by leaps and bounds. After looking at the contract, he realized that the terms were all very fair, and with a wave of his pen, he signed it. Boss Lang, on the other hand, gave all the remaining cigarettes in the car to Tianli in celebration, and the two's happy business partnership officially began. The second day, more practitioners came to the Sky Elixir Sex Inn, but Nai Peo and Mo Ba's man were still nowhere to be seen. This made Lin Yi suspicious. Why didn't these people eat? But it was normal for practitioners to not eat for a few days, so it wasn't that strange. In fact, it wasn't that Nai Peo didn't want to come out, but Lin Yi had suddenly injured one of his men, filling him with rage and hatred. His chrysanthemum arts was a technique that leveled up through hatred. Chapter 2784. He had a feeling that he was about to step into Sky Class, and so he went back to his room and prepared to go into closed-door training. He spent the entire night under Demon 8's protection, channeling his practitioner's arts. The next morning, Nai Peo finally broke through and stepped into Sky Class. Above the inn of the Heavenly Elixir Sect, a large amount of spirit chi of heaven and earth rushed over. The cultivators living in the inn all knew that this was a sign that someone was about to make a breakthrough. But who on earth would be so lucky to make a breakthrough at this time? The others didn't know, but Lin Yi was a bit surprised. Lin Yi remembered that only Nai Peo and his men weren't here. Could it be that Nai Peo had broken through? Did you hear? Someone broke through in the Ice Palace last time. I heard it was Zhang Nai Peo from the Everyday sect. What a coincidence. A disciple from Fire Mountain said from a nearby table. I know Nai Peo, he's here already. I saw his name at the sign-in booth, but he's not in the restaurant right now. Could it be that he's still the one breaking through? A disciple from the Dark Palace said, surprised. Then it's probably Nai Peo again, the disciple from Fire Mountain nodded. The disciple from Fire Mountain nodded. The Everyday sect, they have a lot of power, and we can't be envious of them. I heard that Zhang Nai Peo is a core disciple, and we're only here for the rewards, it's different. That's true, but I heard that in the Ice Palace last time, other than Nai Peo, there was another person who broke through as well. He's pretty strong as well. He was the one who injured Nai Peo. I wonder if he's here yet? The disciple from the Endless West Sea said. It's best if we don't talk about these things too much. Even though we're all from the ancient era, it'll still be troublesome if the disciples of the Ice Palace hear about it. The disciple from Fiery Mountain had reminded him not to bring up the fight with the Ice Palace. What's there to be afraid of? We, the Ice Palace and the Endless West Sea, are all water practitioners. We're from the same line. They'll at least give us some face. The Endless West Sea disciple said casually. Lin Yi could clearly hear their conversation. In fact, the distance between each table was not far. Few of the practitioners here were of the profound rank. Most of them were of the earth rank or even the heaven rank. It was very easy for them to hear what was being discussed at other tables. Since the Heavenly Elixir sect had changed the level standard of the participants, the cultivators sent by each sect would not be limited to the profound stage, in order to have a better chance of winning. Usually, they would send disciples with relatively higher strength. That way, they would have a higher chance of winning. However, from the looks of it, the news about him did not spread out. The ancient era only knew about this matter. However, they didn't know who he was. It wasn't long before Chi-Chi walked in, but there were no empty tables left. Familiar cultivators sat at each table in 2s and 3s. After buying breakfast, Chi-Chi wanted to find an empty table to sit down, but when she came to a table, the two cultivators sitting there glared at her angrily. Chi-Chi wanted to get angry, but she didn't dare to. She could only find another seat. After all, the practitioners here were all stronger than Chi-Chi. There was no way Chi-Chi would be a match for them. Chi-Chi found another 2 tables, but the cultivators there were also very unfriendly towards her, telling her to leave. These disciples of the ancient era were very particular about their cliques. Only disciples from sects they had good relationships with would sit together, and they were quite hostile towards outsiders. At this level, cultivators usually didn't have that much of a need for beauties. No one would look at Chi-Chi differently just because she was a pretty girl. In the eyes of these disciples, there were only cultivation and benefits. As for beauties, they were just floating clouds. Chi-Chi was very troubled. She didn't think that there would be no more seats in the restaurant while she was sleeping. The most annoying thing was that the cultivators here weren't easy to get along with. She was alone, and there wasn't even a place for her to sit. "Excuse me, may I sit here?" Chi-Chi had learned her lesson this time. She asked politely at the next table. "No." The Endless West Sea disciple at the table next to Lin Yi said coldly. Evidently, they were quite wary of cultivators they didn't know. Unless it was someone like Feng Shipian, who liked to make friends, or the 2 weaker ones from the Dark Palace, the others all had their own circles, and wouldn't accept newcomers easily. Chi-Chi was on the verge of tears at the heartless rejection. She held her plate, not knowing if she should leave or stay. She decided to give it a try, and asked Lin Yi's table. If it didn't work, she'd quickly finish her food in the corner and go back to her room. She was so unlucky. "Excuse me, may I sit here?" Chi-Chi asked listlessly. "Sure, but you'll have energy after dinner. Just don't turn around and try to kill me." Lin Yi smiled as he looked at Chi-Chi. "Ah, you're Lin Yi?" Chi-Chi's eyes went wide. She didn't think that she'd meet Lin Yi here. She felt the urge to cry. She didn't think that the one who would take her in would be her enemy, Lin Yi. "I'm Lin Yi, but you don't have to be so surprised, do you?" Lin Yi was speechless as he looked at Chi-Chi. This cool girl was way too shocked. Great, I've finally met someone I know." Chi-Chi was on the verge of tears as she put her plate down. If it weren't for Lin Yi, she would have been crouching in the corner to eat, or bring her breakfast back to her room. "Bro Lin, aren't you going to introduce us?" Feng Shipian loved making friends. He smiled at Lin Yi. "This is my, how do I put it, friend and foe, I guess. She's young Chi-Chi, also a freelancer, a physical practitioner." "Right, what's your level now?" Lin Yi didn't know what Chi-Chi's level was. She was a physical practitioner, but Lin Yi couldn't tell. Chapter 2785. Lin Yi nodded, not making fun of her. "Li Siba is a physical practitioner as well. You two should get to know each other when you're free." Lin Yi always had a weird feeling towards Chi-Chi. This girl was always biting the hand that fed her, but Lin Yi did see her body back then. It was an undeniable fact, and so Lin Yi's feelings for her were complicated as well. He didn't want anything to happen to her, but there was no way he could open his heart to her. Young Chi-Chi started wolfing down her breakfast. She was really starving. She'd been practicing her butterfly steps until midnight, but she didn't make any progress. She overslept, and she didn't have a place to eat in the morning. Naturally, she'd eaten quickly now. "When does the test start?" Lin Yi was done with his breakfast, waiting for Chi-Chi. He started chatting with Feng Shipian and the others. "Tonight is the registration time. The test officially starts tomorrow morning," Feng Shipian said. Bro Lin, you don't know anything about the test?" "No, I told you, I'm a solo practitioner," Lin Yi said. "Are you a solo practitioner from the common world?" Guxian was a bit surprised. There were a few types of solo practitioners. Someone like him might be called a solo practitioner, but he was actually someone who roamed between the ancient and hidden planes, relying on his own strength to get some benefits and resources. These people were quite well informed about the ancient world, and Lin Yi didn't know anything. This meant that he was a solo practitioner from the common world. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be able to step into the mystic class with his own strength, much less earth class. This was also why there weren't many high-level practitioners in the common world. Solo practitioners are divided into the common world and the non-common world? Lin Yi paused. "Of course. I'm a lone cultivator, but I'm actually registered in the ancient and hidden planes. I have my own way of making a living. Nominally, I'm also restricted by the rules of the ancient and hidden planes. But at the same time, I get a lot of benefits. For example, I enjoy the same treatment as the ancient sects and hidden houses. I can participate in whatever they can, Wuxia said. That's not much of a difference, Linny smiled and turned to Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi, what kind of solo practitioner are you? I'm actually an overseas cultivator. All overseas cultivators are invited to events, and some of them formed an overseas cultivator association. They'll send invitations to the association if there's anything here, Chi-Chi said. Oh! Linny nodded, not surprised at all. The ring on Chi-Chi's finger was very familiar to Lin Yi. It belonged to an overseas assassin organization. Feng Shipian, Wuxia, and Li Siba, on the other hand, were quite surprised. They didn't expect Chi-Chi to be from overseas. Are there a lot of practitioners overseas? Wuxia's occupational habit made him curious. Quite a few, but some didn't join the association. After all, it's a voluntary association. It's not mandatory. Chi-Chi explained, there might not be as many as here, but all of the practitioners in the association added together is equivalent to an ancient sect. I see, no wonder you guys got invited. Wuxia realized, but are you the only one participating in the test? Yeah, the foreign practitioners aren't that interested in these trainings. There are more physical practitioners there, and the rewards here aren't that enticing to them. Chi-Chi said. That's right, the foreign practitioners aren't that interested. I see. Wuxia nodded. I really didn't think that there would be so many practitioners overseas. As they were talking, the door of the restaurant was suddenly pushed open, and two people came in. However, many of the chatting practitioners at the table became silent at the same time. And the others also shut their mouths after being reminded by others. It was Zhang Naipao and Mo Ba. Ordinary ancient sects were really unwilling to provoke the people of the everyday and everyday sect, especially Zhang Naipao, who had been rumored to be a god. No one knew what kind of evil mantra he had practiced. Even the disciples of the Holy Fist Palace were crippled. How could the disciples of other ancient sects dare to provoke him? Who would dare to mess with him before they knew the situation? So at this time, surprisingly, they all remained silent. However, the most surprised person was Lin Yi. The others couldn't see it, but Lin Yi saw it clearly. Zhang Naipao was an Earth-class late-phase peak yesterday, and this morning, he became a Sky-class early-phase master. Wasn't the speed of his advancement a little too fast? Before, Lin Yi had some confidence in his heart, because he was wearing the golden cicada underwear, which could defend against any attack from an Earth-class master. No matter how powerful Zhang Naipao was, he was still an Earth-class master. Lin Yi was wearing the golden cicada underwear that Zhong Pingliang gave him, so he wasn't afraid of Zhang Naipao. But in the blink of an eye, when he woke up, Zhang Naipao actually broke through and advanced. This made Lin Yi feel a sense of defeat, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. During the Ice Palace trial, Zhang Naipao had advanced, but what made Lin Yi feel better was that during the Ice Palace trial, Lin Yi also advanced, but in the Heavenly Elixir trial, Lin Yi didn't have any opportunity to advance. Even when Lin Yi had just advanced to the Earth-class late phase, he hadn't reached the peak of the Earth-class late phase, and he didn't even touch the barrier of the Earth-class late phase peak, which made Lin Yi a little depressed. Haha, isn't this Lin Yi? Last time in the Ice Palace trial, you and I both broke through, but this time, you seem to have dropped the ball? Naipao saw Lin Yi right away, and walked over with big steps, mocking Lin Yi. Lin Yi's face changed. Naipao was hitting a sore spot, but there was nothing Lin Yi could do about it. He said coldly, Sky Class early phase, huh? Your subordinate Mo Jiao is still Sky Class mid-phase. I wonder how he's doing now? You. Naipao wanted to piss Lin Yi off, but Lin Yi's words made him speechless. He couldn't argue back and could only say, Humph, there's no point in talking, we'll see in the trial. Oh. Lin Yi replied faintly, not at all salty. This tone of disdain was driving Naipao crazy. He wanted to piss Lin Yi off after breaking through, but Lin Yi wasn't pissing him off, and he was pissing himself off instead. Chapter 2786. Naipao was pissed, and he didn't look where he was going. He walked out of the restaurant and bumped into someone who had just entered. Bang! The two of them collided and each took 2 steps back. You think he's blind? I didn't see him? Why did he just bump into me? Naipao didn't even have time to get angry when the other guy who got hit started pointing at Naipao's nose. Kid, do you want to die or something? Do you know who I am? What? Naipao paused. He didn't think that there would be someone else who dared to talk back to him in the Sky Elixir sect. After all, he'd seen everyone's reactions when he'd entered the restaurant, and they were all looking at him with respect and reverence. Nai Peo was feeling a little smug, but who would have thought that some idiot would say that he didn't want to live? Humph, kid, this is the young master of the Yellow Soil High Sect, Tu Overlord. The guy who bumped into Nai Peo didn't say anything, but one of his men jumped out. Tu Overlord? Nai Peo blinked. That's right. How about it, scared now? Tu Overlord's man smiled coldly at Nai Peo. Yellow Soil High Sect? Never heard of it. But Yellow Soil High Slope. Nai Peo shook his head. Humph, we're from the West region. It's normal that you haven't heard of it. Bumpkins like you have never seen the world. Get on your knees and beg if you want to live. Otherwise, don't blame our young master for being rude. The man raged. Oh, I'm not a bumpkin. I think your young master's surname is Tu, right? Nai Peo had been pissed off at Lin Yi, and now these two idiots had come to him. Naturally, he wasn't going to let them go. So what if I'm rude? Heaven flipping earth. 8th form. Tu Overlord activated his signature move, throwing a punch at Nai Peo. Perhaps he knew the rules of the test, but he didn't want to kill Nai Peo. He only wanted to cripple him. Bang! Tu Overlord's fist landed on Nai Peo's body. The 8th stance wasn't enough to cripple him, but it still made him spit out a mouthful of blood. He had prepared quite a lot of pills this time, and he quickly popped one into his mouth. As for the Earth Overlord, he was already miserable. After spitting out 3 mouthfuls of blood, his eyes rolled back and he fell straight to the ground, as if he had suffered a serious injury. Young master, what's wrong? Tu Ba Wang's subordinates were shocked. They hurriedly bent down to check on Tu Ba Wang's injuries. However, Tu Ba Wang's injuries were very serious, almost to the point of being incurable. All the meridians in his body were broken. Apart from his weak breathing, there was no sign of life. Humph! You overestimate yourself. Nai Peo smiled coldly. You're just a sky-class early phase peak, and you want to fight me? You're like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. This strange scene stunned everyone in the restaurant. Hearing about it was one thing, but seeing it with their own eyes was another. As expected, Nai Peo didn't do anything at all. He just stood there, and yet Tua was lying on the ground, dead or alive. Lin Yi was shocked as well. He didn't know how Nai Peo did this at all. Nai Peo really didn't do anything, he didn't even move a finger, and Tu Ba Wang was already on the ground. This was a very strange situation. Lin Yi couldn't see the details from his angle, but Lin Yi guessed that this might be a powerful technique of Nai Peo's? Could it be a technique that could reflect other people's techniques? But that didn't seem right, either. Tu Ba Wang was a sky-class early phase peak, and even if he used the 8th form of heaven and earth turning 8, he shouldn't have been crippled like that. Nai Peo was a sky-class early phase, and he could take a skill like that head-on, and use a pill to nullify the damage. Tu Ba Wang, on the other hand, was crippled by his own skill? This didn't seem very realistic. Lin Yi didn't understand this at all. Lin Yi had heard of skills like heaven and earth grand shift that could deflect other people's attacks back, but this was clearly different from Nai Peo's situation. It seemed like Nai Peo didn't completely deflect it back, because he was injured as well. According to Lin Yi's estimations, it was normal for the 8th form to make Nai Peo spit out blood. This was within the normal range, so it meant that Nai Peo had taken a hit. But how did Tu Ba Wang get injured? That was really strange. But thinking about it, Nai Peo's wasp absorption arts was even weirder. Lin Yi couldn't help but shake his head. It seemed like he had underestimated Nai Peo. It was fortunate that he reacted fast and didn't attack Nai Peo directly. Otherwise he would be the one on the ground right now. Before understanding Nai Peo's cards, Lin Yi couldn't tell if he was a match for him or not. Tu Ba Wang's lackey looked at Nai Peo hatefully before picking him up and leaving. He had to find a place to save Tu Ba Wang, and he knew that he wasn't a match for Nai Peo, so he didn't do anything else. After taking down Tu Ba Wang, Nai Peo's confidence was boosted. He laughed and turned to Lin Yi. Lin Yi, do you want to try? Lin Yi didn't say anything, ignoring Nai Peo's question. In fact, Lin Yi's heart was pounding as well. He was wearing the mid-class golden cicada underwear, but Nai Peo was a sky class. The underwear had no effect on him at all. If this was yesterday, Lin Yi still had a trump card, and that was the steel rod in his backpack. This could attack any practitioner below sky class. It could pierce through chi protection and attack. But what Lin Yi didn't expect was that Nai Peo would break through to Sky Class in one night, turning this trump card of his into a useless one. He couldn't use it anymore. So now, be it Lin Yi or Nai Peo, they were both at the stage of testing each other out. They didn't have full confidence, and neither wanted to make the first move. Lin Yi was like that, and Nai Peo was also afraid of Lin Yi, who had crippled Mo Jiao in one hit. Nai Peo saw that Lin Yi wasn't paying attention to him, and he humphed and left the restaurant with Mo Ba, leaving quickly. Only then did the restaurant return to its previous hustle and bustle, but the practitioners around Lin Yi's table all stood up and left subconsciously, sitting next to other sect disciples they were familiar with, giving up the tables around Lin Yi. Chapter 2787. Nai Peo's words told them that Lin Yi was the one who'd crippled both Nitian and Nai Peo in the Ice Palace test. Someone who was even scarier than Nai Peo. Naturally, they'd stay away from him. Although they all had powerful sects behind them, background wasn't the point in the test. They could look down on Lin Yi when they got back to their sects, but who would be willing to take a loss in front of them right now? Even the practitioners who defended Chi-Chi felt threatened. Chi-Chi and Lin Yi were obviously close, and offending Chi-Chi was the same as offending Lin Yi. Fortunately, Lin Yi didn't pursue the matter after Chi-Chi was done with her food, leading the group out of the restaurant. Of course, most of the disciples here were wary of Lin Yi, but they also looked down on Lin Yi. As far as they were concerned, he was just a freelancer, and no matter how strong he was still just a single person. He'd be nothing but trash against an ancient sect. Brother Lin, I'm really impressed today. That Zhang Nai Peo is such a strong man, but he didn't dare do anything in front of Brother Lin. Li Siba said in admiration. Yeah, if we didn't meet Brother Lin, we'd be at a disadvantage in this test. Feng Shipian nodded. That's for sure. This Zhang Nai Peo isn't someone we should mess with. Look at how pitiful that Tua Yanwang was. He's a practitioner from the West, and he came all the way here, only to be beaten down before he could even participate in the test. Gu Xian added. Chi-Chi couldn't help but curl her lips as she watched the group of people flattering Lin Yi. Humph. This guy really was despicable. It seemed like there was no hope for her revenge. Forget it. How was she supposed to get revenge? He'd saved her so many times. It wouldn't make sense for her to bite the hand that fed her. With that thought, Chi-Chi sighed to herself. Let's not talk about that. You guys come to my room, I have something to discuss with you. Lin Yi waved his hand and said. Lin Yi didn't care about those flattering words. He was thinking about the long term. In the hidden plane, Lin Yi could be said to have a firm foothold, but in the ancient plane, Lin Yi was still much weaker, and did not make his voice heard. Getting to know Feng Shipian and Li Siba was a very good opportunity. But the current situation was that he could only maintain a personal relationship with the disciples of these ancient sections. It would be difficult for him to gain the respect of the sects or families behind them. Why would I go to your room? Chi-Chi looked at Lin Yi cautiously. She'd been thinking about something else. She was distracted, so she didn't hear what Lin Yi said. She thought Lin Yi only wanted her to go alone. Hence, he immediately felt nervous. Lin Yi looked at Chi-Chi, flabbergasted. The others didn't know what was going on, either. They didn't know what Chi-Chi was up to. You guys are coming to my room to discuss the test, of course. But if you don't want to come, then forget it. Lin Yi looked at Chi-Chi. The test. About the trial? I'll go then. Chi-Chi blushed a little. She didn't hear him clearly and made a mistake. So everyone was going. Lin Yi shook his head and ignored her. The group went to Lin Yi's room, and Lin Yi took out the test map from his backpack. These people wanted him to be their captain, and Lin Yi wanted to rope them in. The test map was the best gift. Luckily, Lin Yi had printed out a lot of copies, or there wouldn't be enough. Lin Yi gave everyone a copy of the map, and they were all confused. Boss, what is this? Chikuan asked curiously. This is the test map. I got it beforehand. Lin Yi said. What? The test map. Feng Shipian was shocked. He came from an ancient house, and even he didn't get a map beforehand. Lin Yi was a freelancer from the common world, and he had a map? Li Siba was shocked as well. He didn't have a map either, but Lin Yi did. Of course, Gu Xian was the most shocked of all. He sold information for a living, and it was Lin Yi who'd gotten the map of the Sky Elixir School. It made him sweat. Who was the one who was making a living in this business? Chikuan, on the other hand, wasn't too surprised. He knew how mysterious Lin Yi was, and he'd gotten used to it after a while. Chi-Chi was the same. She was numb to Lin Yi's power. It seemed like there were benefits to following Lin Yi, be it the test or the trade fair. On this map, there's a marked safe spot. If you run into any danger in the test, you can hide there and wait for the others to meet up. Lin Yi said. So you're saying that as long as we get here, we'll be able to pass the test safely? Feng Shipian asked, surprised. Of course, you can first gather the required spiritual herbs and then hide here. You can also wait for me to arrive and we can gather the required spiritual herbs together. However, after I arrive, I may not be able to gather enough spiritual herbs for so many people. Lin Yi said honestly. This map is just to protect everyone's life. It doesn't really help much. That's already very good. Guxian said. I know how hard this test is. If it weren't for the fact that I've been stuck at Earth-class late phase peak for too long and wanted to try my luck and get a chi-gathering pill to break through, I wouldn't have come at all. There's a flaw in the chi-gathering pill, right? Lin Yi asked without batting an eyelid. That's true, but for us freelancers, reaching Sky Class is already pretty good. I know my own situation. If I can't reach Sky Class at my age, then my chances in the future will be even slimmer. Guxian said. Feng Shipian and Li Siba sighed as well. Lin Yi was too smart of a leader. If they hadn't followed Lin Yi, then Lin Yi wouldn't have given them this map. Chi-Chi, on the other hand, looked pensive as she held the map, a faint smile on her face. Chapter 2788. The result of this trial has been changed. Anyone who successfully gathers a medicinal herb can exchange it for a third-grade elixir pill or a heavenly material that the Heavenly Elixir School currently has. Anyone who successfully gathers 2 medicinal herbs can exchange it for a third-grade elixir pill or a heavenly material that the Heavenly Elixir School currently has. Furthermore, they can also ask the Heavenly Elixir School to help them refine a third-grade elixir pill. Of course, the Heavenly Elixir School has the right to reject the type of elixir refined according to the difference of the elixir. Of course, you can also exchange it for a third-grade elixir or a heavenly treasure that the Heavenly Elixir School currently has. The fortune teller paused for a moment before continuing. The same goes for the 3 medicinal herbs. Ah! The cultivators present were in an uproar. They didn't expect that the Heavenly Elixir School's trial test would offer such a generous offer, which made them very tempted. They could ask to make elixirs for themselves. This was a great opportunity that they had never had before. Especially the disciple from the Ice Palace. She was very excited. She came here to try her luck. The Sky Elixir School wouldn't concoct an Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill for the Ice Palace. Even if she passed the trial, she would only get a level 3 Dan that the Sky Elixir School had already used. But what if she could get 2 herbs? However, she was only excited for a bit. Then she shook her head. Not to mention whether she could get 2 herbs. Even if she could, the Sky Elixir School would be selective when they concoct a level 3 Dan. They wouldn't concoct a level 3 Dan for her. Seeing that there was no hope for her to exchange for a Dan, the disciple from the Ice Palace also decided to leave. She had been told by Bingtang that she should participate in the trial if it was possible. If not, then she should just come back. There was no need to risk her life for a Dan. The 5 Evils Savage Land is extremely dangerous. During the trial, I hope that no one will fight. After all, there are a lot of herbs there, and it's not too hard to find. It's just that there are too many spirit beasts there, so it's not easy to collect them. So, after you get the herbs, it's best that you come back as soon as possible. Tianji said, during the trial, life or death is up to fate. The Sky Elixir School won't take any responsibility. Alright, those who have any objections, you can leave tonight. Those who don't have any objections, come to Elder Kong and pay the deposit. After Tianji said his piece, some people left, while others stood up. When Lin Yi was about to swipe his card to pay the deposit for the trial of Heavenly Elixir Sect, Feng Shipian helped Lin Yi swipe his card first. Kong Ming was expressionless throughout the whole process, as if this matter had nothing to do with him. This surprised Lin Yi a lot. Did the kid's personality change? Why wasn't there any change in his expression when I appeared? Could it be? Was there a bigger conspiracy behind all this? After paying the deposit and registering his strength, Lin Yi could leave with an entrance plate for the trial. The trial of the Heavenly Elixir Sect didn't even test the strength of the participants. It was not as strict as the Ice Palace's trial. But thinking about it, the Ice Palace was here to select outer disciples, while the Heavenly Elixir sect was here purely for medicinal ingredients and money, so they didn't care about strength. Anyway, there was no upper limit for those above the mystic level, as long as you could afford the deposit. Then you could participate at will. Of course, Lin Yi was wrong. This was the only time the trial of the Heavenly Elixir sect didn't test the strength of the participants. The previous trials of the Heavenly Elixir sect strictly tested the strength of the participants, and no cheating was allowed. After collecting all the deposits, Tianji asked the inn owner to arrange for everyone to go back and rest. He then said, "Gather here at 6 o'clock sharp tomorrow morning. I will lead everyone to the location of the trial of the Heavenly Elixir sect, the 5 Evils Barren Land. Please come here on time, or else the deposit will not be refunded." "Yes," everyone replied solemnly. "One more thing, I have to remind everyone, from the beginning of the trial to the time you leave the Heavenly Elixir sect, nothing that happens here is allowed to spread. In the 5 Evils Barren Land, no cameras or other electronic devices are allowed to record what happens inside," Tianji warned. He was afraid that someone would record the terrain of the 5 Evils Barren Land, so that it would be easier for them to participate in the trial in the future. Everyone nodded in understanding. After all, these were all very reasonable requests. After everyone left, Tianji left with Kong Mingming as well. Kong Mingming's eyes scanned the direction of the inn, secretly praying that Zhang Naipeo would be able to kill Lin Yi this time, and that would be the end of it. The night passed peacefully, and the next morning, at 4:30, Lin Yi came back to reality from the training space. He went to the washroom to wash up and left the room. Originally, Lin Yi had planned to raise Qiguan's strength to Earth Class early phase. But Lin Yi didn't have any Qi gathering pills on him right now, and Qiguan was Mystic mid-phase peak right now. Raising him to late phase peak wouldn't help him much in the trial, and so Lin Yi decided not to bring it up. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that Zhao Qiguan, Feng Shipian, Guxian, and Li Siba were already out of the room, chatting not far from Lin Yi's door. Qiguan said when he saw Lin Yi, "Boss, you're awake." "Yeah, you guys are early." "I was thinking of training a bit more," Lin Yi said. "Right, where's Chi-Chi?" "She's not up yet, right?" Qiguan looked at the room at the end of the hallway. "It's not good for us to wake her. Why don't you wake her up, boss?" Everyone, including Qiguan, didn't know what Lin Yi and Chi-Chi's relationship was, so naturally, they couldn't wake her up. "All right, I'll go wake her up." Lin Yi knew Chi-Chi's room number, and he walked towards the end of the hallway. But just as Lin Yi was about to knock, Chi-Chi's door opened. She jumped when she saw Lin Yi. You! Why are you in front of my room?" "I'm here to wake you up, it's about time," Lin Yi said. "Oh!" Chi-Chi held her chest and breathed heavily. She felt that this trial was full of danger, and she was afraid that someone bad would come after her. She hadn't slept well last night, and just as she was getting nervous, Lin Yi scared her. The sky had just begun to brighten when the square in front of the inn was already filled with disciples who had come to participate in the trial. Everyone held the attitude that it was better to arrive early than late as they waited for the arrival of the Heavenly Secrets divination. Chapter 2789. It's time. Cultivators participating in the trial, please follow me to the 5 Evils Savage Lands teleportation point. Diviner of Heavenly Secrets didn't waste any words and went straight to the point. No one dared to tarry. They hurriedly got up and followed behind Tianji Diviner, heading up the mountain together. Lin Yi and Skybolt Pig walked in the front, with Feng Shipian, Li Siba, Guxian, Qiguan, and Chi-Chi following behind. Looking closely, most practitioners formed their own little circle. But there were exceptions, and that was Zhang Naipeo and Demon 8. The everyday sect didn't have a good reputation, and Naipeo's strength was something that everyone was afraid of, so no one wanted to team up with him. They walked for about 10 kilometers, but they were all practitioners, and their walking speed was fast. They didn't feel tired at all, and only stopped when they passed the Sky Elixir Sect's mountain range and came to a very secluded place. In front of them, there was a large building that looked like an altar. Its shape was very strange. Near the altar, several disciples of the Heavenly Elixir Sect were already waiting. It seemed that they had made preparations in advance. "We've already arrived at the Penta Savage Lands teleportation array. This teleportation array can teleport you to any location in the Penta Savage Land, but only one person can be teleported at a time. Therefore, even if you form a small team now, it will be difficult for you to meet each other once you arrive at the Penta Savage Land. Let me remind you that the best way is to find the spiritual herbs in the illustrated handbook as soon as possible. As he spoke, the heavenly secret oracle pointed at a notice board in front of the teleportation array. It was the herb map everyone was looking for. He continued, after you find the herbs, head south, and at the end of the 5-element barrens, there's a teleportation point. Go in and you'll be back safely. The group nodded. This 5-element barrens was indeed a mysterious place. Lin Yi thought that if he didn't have a map, it would take a lot of energy. It would probably be very tiring. No wonder so many people couldn't return from the trial every time. There's one more things. I want to remind you all. Generally speaking, everyone has to come out after half a month. If they don't come out after 20 days, then they won't be able to come out. Tianji reminded him, the Penta Savage Land is the territory of spirit beasts. It is filled with mysteries and oddities. Normally, if a cultivator stays in the Penta Savage Land for more than 20 days, the Penta Evil Chi will invade their body. If it was light, the cultivator's cultivation would be completely crippled, unable to continue cultivating. In the worst case, he would die from Chi deviation. So when the time is up, no matter if you have gathered the medicinal herbs or not, you must come out. Otherwise you will bear the consequences. What's 5 malice Chi? Naipeo asked, confused. 5 evils Chi. Once it invades a cultivator's body, the damage it will cause is extremely terrifying. Tianji Diviner explained. For example, let me give you an example. If a fire attribute cultivator's body is invaded by the 5 evils Chi, then the fire attribute true Chi within the 5 evils Chi can be absorbed by him. This is the true Chi that belongs to him, so it won't affect him at all. However, the other 4 types of true Chi within the 5 evils Chi will remain in his body, unable to be removed. Naipeo nodded, not really bothered by it. He had the wasp absorption arts, after all, and Chi of any element wouldn't be able to harm him. This 5 evils Chi wouldn't be of much use to him. But Naipeo's goal in the 5-element barrens was to get a bone cleansing pill for Pinliang. As long as he had the ingredients, he naturally wouldn't stay in the 5-element barrens for too long. But Lin Yi paused. He might have a 5-element body, but he was still a practitioner of all 5 elements. He didn't know if there would be any problems with the 5 elements aura, right? Alright, since there are no more questions, please enter the portal and enter the 5-element barrens. Tianji Diviner said to the group. From the beginning to the end, the participants entered the portal one by one, and stood in the middle of the altar-like building before disappearing. Evidently, they had entered the 5-element barrens. Lin Yi had always held a reverent attitude towards things like ancient portals and portals. These were all phenomena that couldn't be explained by science. When it was Lin Yi's turn, Lin Yi strode into the portal, and the nearby disciples activated something, and Lin Yi's body disappeared. Lin Yi felt his vision darken, as if he had entered a long tunnel. His vision brightened up, and he found himself standing in an unfamiliar place. The altar beneath his feet had turned into a mountain, and the scenery in front of him had changed as well. Rolling green mountains, steep cliffs, beautiful blue skies, and white clouds. It was like a new world, as if he had returned to the ancient times. Skybolt Pig, what is this place? How far is the portal? Lin Yi asked the pig. Skybolt Pig had a strong sense of direction, and could usually estimate the distance if it wasn't too far away. Oink! Skybolt Pig shook his head, lost. He couldn't sense where they had come from anymore. While Lin Yi was talking to Skybolt Pig, a roar of an unknown spirit beast came from not far away. Lin Yi was startled, and he remembered that there were many spirit beasts in the 5 evil savage land, and many of them were heaven-rank spirit beasts. Lin Yi quickly looked around vigilantly, and he found a hiding place on the cliff behind him. Although it wasn't a long-term plan, it could be a temporary shelter. Thinking of this, Lin Yi carried Skybolt Pig and jumped up to the hiding place on the cliff. Sure enough, not long after, a spirit beast that looked like a tiger but had horns on its head rushed over. Although this spirit beast wasn't weak, it obviously didn't have high intelligence. It wasn't as smart as the spirit beasts that lived alone in the human domain. Perhaps it sensed the appearance of Lin Yi, a human cultivator, but when Lin Yi hid, it circled around the place where Lin Yi was, but after finding nothing, it ran away and didn't look around. This earth-rank spirit beast was really stupid. Lin Yi shook his head, but he couldn't guarantee that all the spirit beasts here were as stupid as this spirit beast. Therefore, Lin Yi didn't come down from the cliff for the time being, and decided to observe the situation first before thinking of a countermeasure. Chapter 2790. All disciples participating in the Ice Heaven Pill Sex test, please take note. The registration period has ended, and we will now begin the registration process. All disciples of the inn, please gather at the plaza in front of the inn in 10 minutes to accept the registration from the Sky Elixir sect, and pay the deposit. We will not wait after the deadline. The voice was full of energy, showing off the strength of the person who was speaking. This person was actually a Sky-class late-phase peak. It seemed like the Sky Elixir sect wasn't weak at all. Lin Yi remembered that Aunt Qing, a Sky-class master, had come for the Ice Palace test, but she was only Sky-class mid-phase, and their sect master was only Sky-class late-phase peak. The Sky Elixir sect, on the other hand, was a Sky-class late-phase peak. They really couldn't be underestimated. Although the Sky Elixir sect had given them a time limit of 10 minutes, none of the disciples dared to be slow. In less than 3 minutes, almost all the disciples came out of the inn and came to the plaza. Lin Yi came downstairs as well, with Qikuan, Feng Shiyan, Li Siba, Guxian, and Qiqi. They found a clean spot and sat cross-legged on the ground. The other disciples followed Lin Yi's example and found a place to sit. The Sky Elixir sect's disciple, on the other hand, was standing expressionlessly on a platform in the plaza. He didn't hide his strength at all, Sky-class late-phase peak on full display. Beside him was a young man in a gray robe, around 20 years of age. Lin Yi's heart was filled with shock with just one look. It was Kong Ming. This guy was representing the Sky Elixir sect to welcome the disciples? Lin Yi's heart tightened. This guy wouldn't try to get revenge after seeing him, would he? Kong Ming seemed to be looking for something as well, and when he saw Lin Yi, a strange light flashed in his eyes. The Sky Elixir School's trial was a huge event in the ancient times. Even if Kong Xiaoming was the young master of the Sky Elixir School, he wouldn't be able to target a single practitioner, let alone an elder of the school. If this matter were to be exposed, then the reputation of the Sky Elixir School would be tarnished. Who would dare participate in the Sky Elixir School's trial in the future? He couldn't do anything to Lin Yi in the open, but he could do things in the dark. Zhang Naipeo of the Everyday and Everyday sect was one of the pawns Zhao Ming was using. Zhao Ming had found out about the grudge between Zhang Naipeo and Lin Yi, and so with his help, Zhang Naipeo had gotten his hands on a map as well. Kong Ming wouldn't need to do anything himself, and he'd get Naipeo to take care of Lin Yi. As long as Lin Yi was dead, then everything would be solved. Soon, all the disciples had arrived, sitting cross-legged as they waited for the Sky Elixir sect's elder to speak. Seeing that everyone had arrived, the person from the Heavenly Elixir sect nodded indifferently and said, "Since everyone is here, let's begin. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Tianji Diviner, the elder in charge of this test, and this is Elder Kong Ming, the one who will assist me in completing the test." Although the man who spoke was only an elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect, and some of the people who came for the trial were core disciples of various sects, this elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect was obviously not an ordinary elder. This could be seen from his name. The head of the Sky Elixir sect was called Tianji Xing, and this elder was called Tianji Diviner. Even if he wasn't Tianji Xing's blood brother, he was still Tianji Xing's cousin, and no one dared to underestimate him. Moreover, the most important thing was that this Tianji's strength seemed to be real, and not the superficial strength of an alchemist. This was a real martial arts cultivator. Most of you here come from ancient houses and sects, and I'm sure you know the rules of the Sky Elixir sect very well. I believe that even the lone practitioners have asked around about the rules of the Sky Elixir sect. At this point, the Heavenly Secret Divination paused for a moment. His gaze swept across the disciples present before he continued. However, there are some changes to the rules of the trial this time around. First of all, our previous trial rules only allowed cultivators above the Mystic class and below the Earth class to participate. But this time, we have relaxed the rules and allowed all cultivators above the Mystic class to participate. But in comparison, the trial deposit amount has been increased. It was 100 million before, but this time, it will be 200 million. The words of Tianji made all the cultivators who were participating in the trial look at each other in dismay. Why did the price of this trial increase? And it was not a small increase, from 100 million to 200 million. This was really a scam. But thinking about it, this time the rules of the Sky Elixir sect had changed and relaxed the requirements, which was why there were so many more people than in the past. Was it to make money? Thinking about the increased deposit, Everyone thought it was very possible. Seeing the expressions of the cultivators below, Tianji Tian was very satisfied. This year's Heavenly Elixir trial was different from the previous ones. If something went wrong, the Heavenly Elixir sect was afraid that the other ancient sects would see through it and come looking for trouble with them. Therefore, they had deliberately increased the trial deposit amount to mislead others into thinking that the Heavenly Elixir sect had relaxed the conditions for participants this time because they were short of money. Otherwise, if a large number of Earth class or even Heaven class disciples died, it would be easy to make people suspicious. Now, even if someone was suspicious, they could only think that the Sky Elixir sex trial was too dangerous, because the change in the requirements of the participants' strength had been explained as a matter of making money. Well, since there is no doubt, then I'll talk about the rules of the trial. This trial will last for half a month, with 5 days in total. The location of the trial is the Five Evils Wilderness behind the mountain of the Sky Elixir sect. During the trial, you need to collect a medicinal herb in the Five Evils Wilderness. As long as you get the herb, you can walk out of the Five Evils Wilderness and complete the trial. Of course, if you don't collect it, you can quit, but it will be regarded as an automatic forfeit, and the deposit cannot be refunded. Tianji Diviner continued. What Tianji Diviner said was no different from the previous trial, so no one had any special expression. Only Lin Yi was listening carefully. He didn't know much about it before. Chapter 2791. Zhong Pingliang? Since you're here, I don't even need to look for you. Qibing was overjoyed when he saw Zhong Pingliang. He jumped down from the car and pulled on Pingliang's door. Get out of the car! Ha! You little bastard, still trying to act tough. Pingliang was furious. He had to admit that Lin Yi was acting tough in front of him, but Qibing still dared to do this to him. He didn't even need Qibing to provoke him. He opened the car door and grabbed Qibing's collar. I see that you want to break your legs, don't you? Break my legs? I'll let you have a taste of that too. Qibing's fist flew towards Pingliang's face, and with a loud bang, Pingliang's nose started to bleed. This scene made Qibing even more excited. Heh, an Earth class was indeed powerful. He couldn't do anything to Pingliang before, but now he was only an Earth class early phase, and he could draw blood with one punch. The difference in strength wasn't a joke. I'm bleeding? Pingliang paled as he touched his face. He couldn't believe his eyes when he saw the fresh blood on his hand. Wasn't he supposed to be able to defend against all attacks from anyone below Sky class? Why couldn't he block Qibing's punch? Plus, the pain on his face wasn't fake. It was deep, and he almost cried from the pain. Bang! Zhao Qibing didn't care about him and slapped him again. Zhao Qibing had been humiliated by Zhong Pingliang before, and now that he had the chance to take revenge, he wouldn't let it go easily. Although he couldn't kill Zhong Pingliang, he could at least cripple him. Ouch! Pingliang screamed again. It hurts, it hurts. Bang! Ah, I'm dying of pain. Bang! Stop. Bang! You're Sky class? You've reached Sky class? Bang! Ah, my leg, it's broken. Bang! Ah! I'm going to faint. Zhao Qibing finally vented his anger after beating Pingliang up. He drove away in high spirits, humming a little tune. Medicine, medicine, cut, make a mess, electric cannon, kick. Xiaofu wasn't a practitioner, so he could only stand there like an idiot. He couldn't help Pingliang at all, and when Qibing left, he quickly helped Pingliang up and asked weakly, Liang bro, are you okay? Don't die. Fuck, are you cursing me? Even Lin Yi couldn't kill me. How could Zhao Qibing kill me? Pingliang was furious. Then, didn't you faint just now? Gao Xiaofu said carefully. If I didn't faint, would he have stopped? He's killing me. Pingliang limped up from the ground. His leg wasn't broken, but his bones were fractured. Qibing knew his limits and didn't want to get carried away. I see. Xiaofu looked at the pitiful Pingliang. Liang bro, why isn't your bra working again? Who knows? It's selective and intermittent. It didn't work in front of Lin Yi, it worked in front of Right Coiling Tiger, and now it's working again. Pingliang was starting to get suspicious. He could believe that Lin Yi had leveled up to Sky Class, but was it even possible that Zhao Qibing had leveled up to Sky Class? Did he eat a Qi gathering pill? Then what should we do now? Xiaofu asked carefully. Go back to the everyday and everyday sect. Immediately. I don't want to stay here a minute longer, Pinliang ordered as he climbed into the car. Yes. Gao Xiaofu hurriedly nodded, got into the car, started it, and sped away. Zhao Qibing was in a good mood after beating up Pinliang. He wanted to race a few laps on the streets. One had to know that his racing skills were quite good, and most professional racers weren't his match. He hadn't raced since he suffered a loss in the car race. But before Qibing could find a place to race, his phone rang. Grandpa? Zhao Qibing was surprised. The number was from his grandpa's study, and Grandpa usually wouldn't call the children of House Zhao on his own accord. It must be something important. Qibing, where are you? Old Zhao's voice came from the other side of the phone. I'm on the streets, Grandpa. What's up? Zhao Qibing asked carefully. I've talked to old Yu from the hidden house Yu. Go to him and pick a technique, old Zhao ordered. But remember to be polite when you're there. Don't let people look down on you. Don't worry, Grandpa. I know what I'm doing. Zhao Qibing was overjoyed. He didn't think he'd get news so soon. He thought he'd have to wait for a while. One couldn't blame him for being happy. As far as he was concerned, martial arts were very important to a practitioner. The reason why Lin Yi was able to defeat enemies above his level when he was only an Earth-class mid-phase peak was because of his martial arts. Otherwise, why didn't Lin Yi have such an obvious advantage when he was at Golden and Mystic class? Although he could still fight above his level, it would only be more obvious after practicing the techniques. So, Zhao Qibing wanted to pick a strong technique for himself. Majestic Fist, on the other hand, didn't meet his requirements. It was just a normal technique. Nothing special. Elder Bai didn't have a choice back then, but now that he had a choice, he naturally hoped that Zhao Qibing could learn a stronger technique. And go. Old Zhao nodded. He called old Yu from the hidden house Yu, and it took quite a bit of effort. After all, he'd stolen old Yu's qi gathering pill, causing Yu Shaochen to lose his chance to ascend to sky class. But the two houses were still in-laws, and on a hidden level, they were still connected. Elder Yu wasn't too happy that he didn't make Yu Shaojin's son the heir of the house, but he could understand why Elder Zhao was doing this. It was just like in ancient times. Why didn't the sons of foreign princesses have the right to be emperors? It was the same reason. Was Yu Shaojin's son a part of House Yu or House Zhao? If he were to lean towards House Yu in the future, wouldn't House Zhao be a branch of House Yu? How much courage did one need to make such a decision? Chapter 2792. When Qibing drove to the hidden house Yu's villa that night, the hidden house Yu gave him some face, and Shaochen personally came out to greet this cheap nephew of his. At the banquet, Qibing saw the crippled Yu Shan. Compared to Qibing's happiness, Yu Shan was a little pitiful. Both of them were participants in the power struggle, but Qibing was the winner, and Yu Shan was the loser. The future of House Yu belonged to Yu Bing, and Yu Shan was just a stepping stone for Yu Bing. The reason he could come to this banquet was because there were too few direct descendants of House Yu. Only Yu Shan and Yu Ning were at home, and the others were the descendants and disciples of the elders. They weren't direct descendants of House Yu, so they couldn't attend this banquet. Of course, Elder Yu didn't attend this banquet. He didn't need to give face to a junior like Qibing. Yu Shaochen's presence was enough to give face to the hidden house Zhao. But when Zhao Qibing saw Yu Ning, he was shocked. In his entire life, he had never seen such a beautiful and refined woman. She was simply a fairy from a fairy tale world who did not eat the food of mortals. Although Tang Yun was also very beautiful, and Zhao Qibing had his eyes on her before, he only wanted to play with her. For an ordinary girl like Tang Yun who had no background, Zhao Qibing didn't put her in his eyes at all. But Yu Ning was different. She was the little princess of the hidden house Yu. Qibing naturally knew what Qikuan was thinking, and he knew the relationship between Qikuan and Lin Yi. It would be best if Qikuan died in the sky elixir test, but what if he didn't? After all, Lin Yi was the biggest variable. Who knew what would happen with him in the sky elixir test? So Qibing had to find allies for himself. His father had gotten his position because of Yu Shaojin, and Qibing had to follow his father's footsteps. He didn't have much power himself, so if he had the support of the hidden house Yu, it would be the same as hugging onto a thick thigh. Moreover, the most important point was that Yu Ning was too beautiful. Her face was like water, without a trace of makeup. She was gentle and quiet. The only ornament on her soft hair was a hair clip. Although the hair clip was a bit rustic, like the kind of pure handmade products worn by primitive tribes, when it was worn on Yu Ning's hair, It didn't look rustic at all. Instead, it had a touch of spirituality. Zhao Qibing had an impulse to take her as his own. Too beautiful, too beautiful, too arousing. Zhao Qibing took a deep breath. In order to not let his perverted look ruin the image of the hidden Yu family, he smiled and looked at Yu Ning. This must be cousin Yu Ning. I've heard a lot about you. My auntie always said that Ning Sis is the most beautiful woman in the world. It seems like she was wrong. Question mark. Yu Ning slightly frowned. How could there be such a person? How could he be so rude? Xiaoqin's face darkened as well. What was this Zhao Qibing? Did he know how to talk? However, Zhao Qibing continued, the most beautiful woman in the world is an insult to Lil Sis Ning. Lil Sis Ning is the most invincible girl in the universe. Xiaoqin let out a breath of relief as a smile appeared on his face once more. This Zhao Qibing wasn't bad at all. His words were a little mushy, but he was good at flattery. Saying that his daughter was pretty made Xiaoqin quite happy. The most invincible girl in the universe? Yu Ning didn't look happy at all. She only said faintly, Qibing bro, you've watched too many dramas, haven't you? You even used the lines? That's... Qibing's expression froze. He had indeed seen this in a TV series, a very old one. It was called The Heroine Conquers the Heaven's Gate. There was a line like this in the universe, but he thought that no one had seen it before. He thought that it was his original line to make the beauty smile, but who would have thought that Yu Ning had seen it before? Let's eat, haha. Yu Ning didn't want to embarrass Qibing too much. She just wanted him to stop showing off. Oh! Qibing smiled awkwardly as he raised his chopsticks. Yushan looked at everything coldly. He didn't say anything, but his eyes were filled with anger and unwillingness. Why? Even if his father wasn't the head of the house, it didn't affect his status as a direct descendant of House Yu. Why could the son of the head of the house get such good treatment, but he, who wasn't the head of the house, couldn't? They were both grandpa's grandsons. Why? Why? He wasn't willing to accept it, especially after he became a cripple. Yu Shan's heart had become infinitely twisted. He hated Yu Bing, hated Yu Xiaoqin, and even hated Yu Ning. Seeing the hatred in his son's eyes, Xiaoqin's second brother, Yu Xiaozhong, sighed deeply. He was angry at himself for not fighting for it. If he were stronger, would his son end up like this? But the father and son didn't think about it. If Yu Shan didn't go to the Ice Palace test and separate from Yu Bing, and go against Lin Yi, would he end up like this? There were many practitioners who were bullied by Zhang Naipeo and Feng Nitian in the test, but if they didn't fight back, they could still protect themselves. Why did Yu Shan have to be crippled? But angry people usually didn't think about these things. That was the logic of petty people blaming others. Qibing seemed to like Yu Ning. Yu Shan calculated in his heart. Could this be a condition he could use? If it worked, he'd be able to incite the hatred between Qibing and the hidden House Yu. It wouldn't do Yu Shan any good, but the crippled Yu Shan had long since given up on being the young head of the house. He couldn't be the young head of the house anymore, and so all he wanted was revenge, to make Yu Xiaoqin suffer. Because of Yu Ning's coldness, Qibing didn't say anything inappropriate. After all, he was here for the skills. If Yu Xiaoqin really hated him, then it wouldn't be worth it. So, Qibing planned to go back and let his grandpa think of something. After dinner, Yu Xiaoqin called Qibing to a private room and gave him 2 manuals. I've been looking around for a while, and the only thing our hidden House Yu has are these 2 gold-type manuals. You can have them. Only 2. Qibing was a little disappointed. He thought that there would be a bunch of skills for him to choose from. Chapter 2793. Oh, there's no need for that. We'll talk about our own things. Pao is still your disciple, and I've just taken over his body, so I'm not strong enough yet. I need to train as much as I can, and I don't have time to teach Pao and the others. Help me teach them martial arts. Pin Liang said. From now on, just call me Liang Bro Pao. You're my loyal follower, and the next leader of this everyday sect will be you. That's... Naipeo didn't know what to say. He was very emotional, but more than anything, he was happy. Liang Bro was finally getting stronger. Before, Naipeo was still respectful to Pin Liang, but he was getting stronger and stronger. He didn't want Pin Liang to stay mediocre, but there was nothing he could do about it. It seemed like Liang Bro really was a boss material, no matter where he went. Even in the everyday sect, he was the boss. Naipeo, I had high hopes for you too, and now that you have your master, the sect's future depends on you. Pure Yang said. Yes. Nai Peo was very excited. Xiaofu was happy as well. Liang Bro was getting stronger. Didn't that mean he was going to get stronger as well? His unwelcome treatment here would soon turn into compliments, and he'd be Pin Liang's follower. He'd be a big shot in the future. Right, where's Guangyou? Pin Liang asked. Master, Guangyou is in isolation right now. Do you think? If it was Pure Yang himself, he wouldn't dare disturb Guangyou right now, but Guanglong was different. Let's go, get him out. I have something to discuss with him. Pin Liang said faintly. Okay, master, please. Pure Yang Empyrean quickly made a gesture and said. Pow, Xiaofu, you guys follow me. I'm still used to having you guys be my followers. Pin Liang said with a wave of his hand. Yes, Liang Bro. Nai Peo and Xiaofu were very happy. Liang Bro was getting stronger, but he was still the same Liang Bro from before, still treating them like his followers. Empyrean Pure Yang couldn't help but smile bitterly. It seemed like his master's personality had changed. However, this was a good thing. In the past, his master always had a straight face and was very serious, which made him afraid. Now, his master was much more easygoing. The few of them came to the place where Master Guangyou was in seclusion. Pure Yang Empyrean went to call Master Guangyou. With Zhong Pingliang backing him, he wasn't afraid of anything. Ancestral Master Wild Bull was in seclusion. Although he had advanced to the peak of the Heaven Realm in the past few years, he hadn't cultivated to the Great Circle. Although he was only a fine line away from the Great Circle, he still hadn't reached it. Therefore, he spent most of his time in seclusion. Hearing Empyrean Pure Yang's summons, Ancestral Master Guangyou frowned. He had once said not to summon Empyrean Pure Yang unless it was a matter of life or death for the sect. But now, the sect hadn't sent out any warning signals. They shouldn't have encountered any danger. Why would Empyrean Pure Yang want him? Pure Yang, what's the matter? Although Ancestral Master Guangyou was angry, Empyrean Pure Yang was still the sect master of the everyday and everyday sect. He wouldn't be unreasonable, so he asked patiently. Ancestral Master Guangyou, my master is back. Empyrean Pure Yang said quickly. What? What did you say? Your master is back? Are you crazy? How many years has it been since your master was buried? Ancestral Master Guangyou was stunned. Are you still dreaming in the middle of the night? No, Ancestral Master Guangyou. My master's primordial spirit has taken over my body. He really is back. Empyrean Pure Yang explained quickly. What? He took over your body? Ancestral Master Guangyou stood up suddenly and walked out quickly. He saw Zhong Pingliang smiling at him not far away. But for some reason, this smile gave him a familiar feeling. Although Ancestral Master Guangyou was very cold and irritable, when facing his two junior brothers, he would often show a rare smile. It was very similar to the smile Zhong Pingliang was showing now. Guangyou, it's been more than 10 years. You brat. You almost killed me. Zhong Pingliang walked towards Ancestral Master Guangyou. Are you really my senior brother? Ancestral Master Guangyou also knew about the primordial spirit, but he was a little uncertain. Let's go inside and talk in detail. Zhong Pingliang pointed to the place where Ancestral Master Guangyou was in seclusion. Okay, Pure Yang, wait at the door first. He and I will go in and check it out. Ancestral Master Guangyou hadn't confirmed Zhong Pingliang's identity yet, so he was still a little skeptical. The two of them walked into the inner room of seclusion. Zhong Pingliang began to narrate some of the sect's secret history, some things that only the three of them knew. Now, Ancestral Master Guangyou was dead, and Ancestral Master Guangyou was forcibly taken away by the ruthless person who destroyed the sect. Only Ancestral Master Guangyou was left. Logically speaking, no one in the sect should know about these things, but Zhong Pingliang was very familiar with them. Moreover, Ancestral Master Guangyou asked Ancestral Master Guangyou some questions, and Zhong Pingliang answered them fluently, knowing everything about the past like the back of his hand. Only then did Ancestral Master Guangyou believe his identity. You really are my senior brother. That's great, you're finally back. Haha, Guangyou, although I'm your senior brother, I only have a body of memories now, but no strength. I need to cultivate again. Zhong Pingliang smiled and couldn't help but shake his head helplessly. That's okay. There are many treasures in the sect. Senior brother, you can take them as you please. Recover your strength as soon as possible, and we brothers will return to Heavenly Island together, step into the Heavenly Dao, and find second senior brother as soon as possible. Ancestral Master Guangyou said. Find him. Zhong Pingliang smiled bitterly, still fearful. That person killed me with one punch back then. How strong was he? How are we going to find second senior brother? If he's done with his business, he'll come back on his own, and if we go looking for him, we'll either be forced to stay or killed. Zhong Pingliang had inherited Ancestral Master Guangyou's memories, and he was still very afraid of what happened back then. This was a strength that he couldn't surpass, and it was like a mountain that he could only look up to, unable to have any thoughts of revenge. This didn't seem to be targeting Lin Yi. As far as he was concerned, Lin Yi was strong, but there was still hope for him to surpass him. He had placed his hopes on Zhang Naipeo, feeling that the gap between Naipeo and Lin Yi wasn't that big, and revenge was still a possibility. Now that he had become the founder of the Mad Dragon Patriarch, he could seek revenge on Lin Yi himself in the future. However, he didn't even have the guts to think about seeking revenge on those two people from back then. Chapter 2794. Even Zhao Qikuan was very surprised. He didn't understand why Lin Yi would say that. In fact, even if Lin Yi wanted to hide it, he wouldn't be able to hide it for long. Since Zhang Naipeo was coming this time, Lin Yi's identity would definitely be exposed, and Feng Shipian would know about it. It was better to say it now. It would be more honest. Zhao Qikuan is actually Feng Niqian's follower. Let him tell you about the situation, Lin Yi said. Zhao Qikuan nodded and told Feng Shipian about the Ice Palace trial. After Feng Shishuan heard this, he smiled bitterly and nodded his head. I guessed it right. That cousin of mine is young and promising. At that time, he was called the #1 person under the Earth rank. 8 out of 7 people were unconvinced. Young hero Lin actually didn't do anything wrong. It's good that you understand. Lin Yi nodded and said, Feng Niqian stole things in the trial, and I have someone I want to save. I can't compromise with him, so we have to fight to the death. Haha, it's okay, young hero Lin, you don't need to explain, I understand. If I had your martial arts, I would fight back if someone bullied me. Feng Shipian said, but, young hero Lin is really strong. You were only mystic late phase, but you could injure my cousin. Of course, boss is strong. Zhao Qikuan wanted to say more, but Lin Yi interrupted him. Let's not talk about this, since Brother Feng doesn't blame me, that's good. Lin Yi didn't want Zhao Qikuan to talk about meaningless things, and he could see that the relationship between Feng Shipian and Feng Niqian wasn't that good. It was just that Feng Shipian was a kind person. Right, Guxian, you mentioned Zhang Naipeo before, what's going on? Zhang Naipeo. Guxian didn't hide it. I heard that on the way here, Zhang Naipeo had a conflict with 2 disciples from Holy Fist Palace. One of them was crippled on the spot, so only one came. Zhang Naipeo did it? Lin Yi frowned and was a little surprised. Is the Holy Fist Palace practicing external mental cultivation methods? Lin Yi remembered that House Pai had some connection with the Holy Fist Palace. Both of them practiced external arts, and wasn't Zhang Naipeo's ultimate skill the wasp absorption art? He could absorb the chi of an inner sect cultivator, but what could he absorb from an outer sect cultivator? That shouldn't be the case. If Naipeo had gotten into a fight with a spiritual practitioner, that person would have been crippled on the spot. But now, could it be that Naipeo had trained in some other mystical arts? Plus, Naipeo was crippled by him, and he recovered after he went back? Lin Yi would have believed it if he'd recovered, since the ancient sects had all sorts of elixirs. But to say that Naipeo could even absorb physical practitioners was bullshit. Could it be that Naipeo had trained in some powerful technique? Thinking about it, it made sense. After all, Zhang Naipeo was an earth class now, and it was normal for him to train in martial arts. Yes, it's external mental cultivation methods. Guxian lowered his voice. Let me tell you, according to reliable information, Zhang Naipeo just stood there and didn't move. The master of the Holy Fist Palace only punched him once, and then he fell to the ground and became a cripple. What? How did he do it? Lin Yi was stunned. Could it be that Zhang Naipeo could also use the wasp absorption art as a physical practitioner? Otherwise, why would the disciple of the Holy Fist Palace be crippled when he didn't move? This was a little unscientific. I don't know about this. Although I, Guxian, make a living by selling information, There is some top-secret information that I can't get. Gu Xian shook his head. You sell information? Lin Yi was stunned. That's right. I'm just a rogue cultivator. I don't have any backing, nor do I have any cultivation resources. In order to exchange for some cultivation resources, I can only rely on selling information to survive. Of course, I have my own ways and connections. Gu Xian said, in the cultivation world, people call me demi-immortal Gu to describe me as a fortune teller. In fact, I have more information channels. Lin Yi nodded. A rogue cultivator who could cultivate to the level of Gu Xian was not an ordinary rogue cultivator. He had his own set of survival rules. Otherwise, it would be difficult to survive in the cultivation world where the strong preyed on the weak. Without ability, it would be difficult to move forward. Lin Yi was about to inquire more, but he didn't expect a commotion outside the restaurant. Then a young man pushed the door and entered, but he did not continue to enter the restaurant. Instead, he held the door and made a gesture of invitation. Then, another person entered the restaurant. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that this person was Zhang Naipeo. Naipeo walked in arrogantly, and the man who opened the door said respectfully, "Gunslinger, please take a seat." Behind Naipeo was another man, respectful as always. These two were disciples of the Everyday and Everyday sect, Naipeo's followers. Naipeo had been injured last time at the Ice Palace, and so for his safety this time, the Everyday and Everyday sect sent 2 more followers over. These 2 were stronger than Naipeo, both Sky Class mid-phase. In actuality, these 2 were both Naipeo's seniors, and even if Naipeo was a disciple of the pure young Sky Lord, there was no need for him to be this respectful. But now, Naipeo had become a follower of the Everyday and Everyday sect, a follower of the Mad Dragon Master. The seniority didn't change, but which disciple under him would dare treat Naipeo as a junior? Calling Naipeo Gunslinger was already too much, and if it weren't for the fact that Naipeo was a disciple of the pure young Sky Lord, they would have called him Master Naipeo or Master Mad Pao. In fact, the Sky Elixir sect's test this time was very dangerous. The Everyday and Everyday sect, as one of the initiators of the Sky Class Island plan, had always been suppressed by the 5 Elements sect. But Naipeo was a key person, and even if the 5 Elements sect didn't like the Everyday and Everyday sect, they wouldn't joke around with his life. Naipeo had 2 goals for coming here. One was to get a bone-cleansing pill for Pinliang after winning the test, and 2 was to teach Lin Yi a lesson. Pinliang had lost to Lin Yi time and time again, and now that he was one of the elders of the Sky Elixir sect, he was desperate for revenge. But his strength was limited, and he could only send Naipeo for revenge. Plus, when Naipeo fought with Lin Yi, it would stimulate his training intent, allowing him to step into a higher level. Chapter 2795. At that moment, Lin Yi and Chikuan bumped into the 2 who had just come downstairs. The Feng from before was clearly a warm-hearted man, without the scheming of other practitioners. He greeted Lin Yi and Chikuan warmly. "Good evening, you two. You're also here for the test, right? I'm Feng Shipian, pleased to meet you too." Lin Yi paused, thinking that this person was quite warm-hearted. He didn't have any airs of a Sky Class at all. What a weirdo. His name was even more so, Shipian? Why did he sound like a scholar? He didn't sound like a practitioner at all, and this person looked quite elegant as well. But, this person gave Lin Yi a familiar feeling, as if he'd seen him somewhere before. Feng Shipian? Feng. Lin Yi suddenly remembered the Feng Nitian they were talking about, and his face changed. Yes, this person looked similar to Feng Nitian. Could this person be from the ancient House Feng? With that thought, Lin Yi became more cautious of this person. This person looked harmless, like a nice guy, but Lin Yi didn't just believe it on the surface. What if this person knew that he was the one who crippled Feng Nitian? Would he suddenly attack him? "Ah, so it's Master Feng, nice to meet you," Lin Yi said indifferently, not introducing himself. Who knew if House Feng knew that Lin Yi was Lin Yi? If they did, wouldn't they turn on him on the spot? Chikuan could tell that Lin Yi didn't have any intentions of getting to know them, so he just cupped his hands and didn't say anything. "You two, don't you want to have dinner together? I'll be the host." Feng Shipian felt the coldness from Lin Yi and Chikuan, but he didn't know what the problem was. He felt that he was being very warm, so why didn't Lin Yi see it? "No need, we just got here, and we need to clean up the room first. You guys go eat first," Lin Yi said faintly. "This. All right." Feng Shipian did not insist. Everyone had their own aspirations. If the other party was unwilling to attend the banquet, there was nothing he could do. He could only leave with the people who had gone downstairs earlier. Lin Yi and Qikuan went upstairs. Qikuan was curious, but he didn't ask anything. If they could hear what Feng Shipian said before, then Feng Shipian would most likely hear what they were saying now. Qikuan didn't go to his room but Lin Yi's first. That Feng Shipian seems to be from the same family as Feng Nitian, the two of them should be related. Lin Yi said, that Feng Shipian seems to be from the same family as Nitian. Qikuan paused. Wasn't that right? The two of them looked similar. He had been with Feng Nitian during the Ice Palace test, so of course he had a deep impression of him. However, he didn't think much about it until Lin Yi reminded him, they really do look alike. Could it be that this person is here for revenge? That's hard to say. He might just be here for the test. Lin Yi said, from the way this person speaks and does things, he seems a bit naive and inexperienced, but you can't judge a person's heart from his face. No one can be sure that this person isn't just a fool. That's true. Just be careful. Qikuan nodded. Feng Shipian and the other person went to the inn's restaurant. There weren't any other restaurants nearby, only this inn. Feng bro, who are those two? They don't seem to be very sociable? The person with Feng Shipian asked. He was a solo practitioner without a sect, and it was already quite a feat for him to be able to reach Earth-class late-phase peak. For a solo practitioner of this level to not be tempted by the common world to become a god for some rich person, and instead, he kept on training. So when Feng Shipian threw out an olive branch, he came over immediately. Sky class. Even though it was only early phase, it was enough for him to look up to. This person looked young, but he was already in his 40s. He called Feng Shipian bro just out of respect. I'm not sure, but it's normal. Many disciples of the ancient sects are very prideful, and they don't like to form cliques. After all, some of the ancient sects have conflicts with each other. It's impossible for their disciples to sit together peacefully. Feng Shipian explained. At the same time, the ancient Feng family was in an uproar. Feng Tianlin was sitting next to grandfather Feng in the family meeting room, glaring at Feng Tianhu. Feng Tianhu, what are you trying to do? You're hiding it from me. Letting Shipian participate in the Sky Elixir test? Don't you know how dangerous that test is? Very few cultivators from the previous batches survived. Second bro, you're wrong. My son can participate in the Ice Palace test just because he's strong, but your son can't participate in the Sky Elixir test? What kind of logic is that? Feng Tianhu said faintly. Plus, Feng Shipan is an early-stage Heaven-class master. He wasn't allowed to participate in the Heavenly Elixir sex trial in the past. This time, the rules were relaxed. Why not let Shipan get some benefits? Don't think I don't know that you're letting Shipian participate in the Sky Elixir test to get a third-level Great Huan pill for Nitian. Feng Tianlin was furious. I didn't say that. I just told Shipan about the stakes. Shipan volunteered to participate in the trial of the Heavenly Elixir sect to get medicine for his brother, Feng Tianhu said calmly. You know Shipian's personality. Of course, he wouldn't reject you. Feng Tianlin humphed coldly. His son, Feng Shipian, wasn't a bad person, he was a good person. Feng Tianhu said that going to the Heavenly Elixir sex test would give him a third-level Great Huan pellet to save his brother. He would definitely go. All right, what's with the noise? Stop fighting. Elder Feng finally spoke. It's just a test, isn't it? Shipian is an early-phase sky class, and it's only right for him to train. Plus, it's our fortune that Nitian can recover, so why not? But Feng Tianlin wanted to say something but was interrupted by Elder Feng. Tianlin, Tianhu has his own plans, and he's afraid that you'll stop Shipian from participating, but if it were up to me, I would still let Shipian go, Elder Feng said. Elder Feng said, 1. If Nitian recovers, it'll be a great thing for our ancient house Feng. 2. Feng Shipan is a sky class master now. There shouldn't be any danger in the test. Chapter 2796. Lin Yi hid here, and although it looked safe, the spirit beasts below didn't notice him. But a spirit beast flying in the air noticed Lin Yi. It was an enlarged bat, its body as black as ink, with a pair of wings like a glider. On its head, there was a sharp horn. After noticing Lin Yi, it charged towards Lin Yi, shocking Lin Yi. This was a mystic mid-phase bat, but fortunately, Skybolt Pig was a mystic late-phase peak spirit beast. GG. Skybolt Pig said something to the black bat. Whew. The black bat paused when it saw Skybolt Pig. It didn't know why it was with a human practitioner. GG. Skybolt Pig and the black bat started talking again. The two spirit beasts talked for a bit more, and the black bat turned and left, but Skybolt Pig said to Lin Yi, GG, he then pointed downwards, signaling for Lin Yi to leave. What's going on? Lin Yi jumped down with Skybolt Pig, returning to the ground. Skybolt Pig wrote on the ground, that black bat wanted to attack you, and I used my strength to force it to leave, but if we meet a higher level flying spirit beast, there's nothing I can do. I'm afraid that the black bat will go back and call more companions, so we should leave this place as soon as possible. All right. Lin Yi nodded, a bitter smile on his face. This was the world of spirit beasts. How insignificant were human practitioners in this place. He wondered how Chikuin and the others were doing. GG. Skybolt Pig wrote on the ground again. Oh, you're saying that there's treasure over there? Lin Yi paused. Skybolt Pig wrote on the ground. There's treasure over there. GG. The Heavenly Thunder Pig nodded. Looking at what Skybolt Pig wrote, Lin Yi hesitated. His goal here was just to collect ingredients to trade for level 3 pills, and to protect Chikuin along the way. But Skybolt Pig said that there were treasures here, and to be honest, from a logical point of view, Lin Yi didn't want to go. But since he was already here, Lin Yi wouldn't give up if he didn't check it out. Is that treasure very useful to me? Lin Yi asked hesitantly. GG. The Heavenly Thunder Pig nodded. Then let's go and take a look. Lin Yi gritted his teeth and said, however, if we encounter the herbs needed for the trial, help me find them. GG. Skybolt Pig nodded, indicating that there was no problem. And so, one man and one pig headed in the direction Skybolt Pig had pointed out. He didn't know where to go to the safe spot on the map, and he hadn't confirmed the terrain yet. He might as well go to the place Skybolt Pig had pointed out first. Skybolt Pig's senses were sharper, and he would always warn Lin Yi if there were spirit beasts in the distance. Lin Yi wasn't in a rush, and he found a safe place to hide. But what made Lin Yi depressed was that he didn't get a single spirit herb along the way. There were indeed spirit herbs, but they usually grew near lakes and swamps. Those were the nests of spirit beasts, and Lin Yi avoided them all the time. How could he go and get one himself? Arriving at the trial grounds, Lin Yi finally understood why the Sky Elixir Sex trial had such great rewards. He had the Skybolt Pig by his side, and those without it would have a hard time moving forward. No wonder there were so few who survived, not to mention getting a spirit herb. Along the way, Lin Yi was terrified. After all, even if he faced a heaven-ranked master, Lin Yi wouldn't be afraid. Even if he couldn't win, he could still run, right? But spirit beasts were different. Some of them were extremely fast, and Lin Yi couldn't outrun them. Just like the black bat from before, its speed was comparable to that of a plane. In the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of Lin Yi, and Lin Yi couldn't fight against that kind of speed. But for some reason, Lin Yi didn't encounter any spirit beasts along the way. What made Lin Yi feel strange was that there wasn't even a single spirit beast, which made Lin Yi feel strange. Why aren't there any spirit beasts nearby? Lin Yi looked at Skybolt Pig strangely. GG. Skybolt Pig shook his head, indicating that there were no spirit beasts nearby. All right. Although Lin Yi continued to move forward, his heart was full of vigilance. After all, there must be something wrong with everything, and it was hard to say what would happen in front of him. Otherwise, why would there be so many spirit beasts before, but no spirit beasts here? After moving forward for a while, there was no more road in front of him. It was a rolling green mountain, and no one knew where it went, but it blocked Lin Yi's way. There is no more road in front. Where is the treasure? Lin Yi stood at the foot of the mountain, looked at the vast mountain range, and asked Skybolt Pig. GG. Skybolt Pig pointed at the mountain range with his claw. You mean, the treasure is on the mountain? Lin Yi asked. Skybolt Pig nodded. On the mountain. Let me confirm where this place is first. Lin Yi said and took out the training map from his pocket. After walking for so long, Lin Yi had a general understanding of the terrain, especially the rolling green mountain in front of him, which was a landmark. Soon, Lin Yi found his location and the mountain range in front of him on the map. 5 Demons Mountain Range? Lin Yi was stunned, and his expression changed immediately. This was because this 5 Demons Mountain Range was marked as an extremely dangerous place on the map. However, the jade pendant didn't give any warning, which meant that the danger wasn't nearby. This map was a miniature version, so the place marked on it could be a few kilometers, tens of kilometers, or even hundreds of kilometers away. The danger might not be right in front of them. Skybolt Pig, I've confirmed our current location, but this map says that this place is extremely dangerous. What do you think? Lin Yi said and placed the map in front of Skybolt Pig. Skybolt Pig looked at the map that Lin Yi handed over, and then looked at the vast mountain range. He was a little confused, and obviously, he didn't feel any danger. But thinking about it, Skybolt Pig's specialty was that he could search for treasures from thousands of kilometers away, but his sense of danger was much weaker. At most, he could feel the presence of his own kind, but only in close proximity. Chapter 2797. Moreover, the heavenly elixir sex trial wasn't something that he could come whenever he wanted. He had to wait for the heavenly elixir sect to hold it, and he wouldn't be able to enter even if he came. Go! Lin Yi gritted his teeth. He knew that there was a tiger on the mountain, but he still went ahead. Since he was already here, how could he leave? Most of the time, Lin Yi sought wealth in danger. Without taking risks, how could he gain any rewards? Thinking of this, Lin Yi made up his mind and walked up the mountain. The mountain path was very steep and rugged. There wasn't a smooth path up the mountain. Obviously, not only was there no one going up the mountain, there shouldn't be any spirit beasts going up either. This showed that there was definitely some kind of hidden danger on the mountain. Otherwise, why wouldn't there be any spirit beasts nearby? Moreover, even if there weren't any land spirit beasts, there should be some flying spirit beasts, right? However, Lin Yi didn't see any. Although the mountain path was difficult to walk, it wasn't a cliff. Even if there was no path, there were still some footholds. With Lin Yi's Qinggong, going up the mountain shouldn't be a problem. Skybolt Pig, which direction is it? Lin Yi asked. Gee. Skybolt Pig stretched out his paw and pointed in a direction not far away. Lin Yi nodded and carried Skybolt Pig forward slowly. After walking for a few hundred meters, Skybolt Pig suddenly squeaked again. Gee. Skybolt Pig squeaked and pointed at a stone hill not far away. Oh, the treasure you were talking about is here? Lin Yi asked, slightly taken aback. Gee. Skybolt Pig nodded and then shook his head. What does that mean? Lin Yi asked curiously. Gee. Skybolt Pig pointed at the stone hill and nodded. Then, he pointed at the mountain not far away and nodded again. Oh, I get it. You're saying that there's treasure here, and there's treasure not far from here, right? Lin Yi understood what the pig was getting at. Gee. The Skybolt Pig nodded its head in satisfaction. Lin Yi quickly moved towards the stone hill. There was nothing special about the appearance of the hill. Lin Yi stretched out his hand to dig the hill and the jade did not warn him, which meant that there was no danger here. It didn't take long for the mound to be excavated, and what surprised Lin Yi was that underneath the rubble was the skeleton of a spirit beast. From the outside, it was hard to tell what kind of spirit beast it belonged to. There were too many types of spirit beasts. Lin Yi couldn't even recognize the living ones, let alone the dead ones. In this pile of spirit beast bones, Lin Yi didn't need to search much to find the inner core of a spirit beast. It seemed like this was the treasure that Skybolt Pig was talking about. Now, Lin Yi had 6 inner cores of spirit beasts. 1 was given by Go Huli's lion, 2 were obtained from Wulong Haut mountain range, 1 was given by the Qian mountain sect, 1 was given by the ghost, and the last one was exchanged with a sky realm cultivator at the cultivator's market. However, the one that the ghost gave him was obviously different from the others, and the ghost didn't let him use it, so he couldn't just use it. The remaining 5 could be used to make a necklace of essence. Lin Yi didn't want to use it, so he didn't want to. However, Lin Yi wasn't a blacksmith, so he couldn't refine it yet. Now that he had obtained an extra essence Niden, it wasn't that he didn't want to waste it. To make an essence necklace, the minimum number of essence Niden was 5. The more, the better. Moreover, the higher the level of the beast, the better the effect. So, Lin Yi naturally wouldn't waste this essence Niden. Carefully putting away the inner core, Lin Yi asked Skybolt Pig, "Is the thing in front better than this?" GG. Skybolt Pig nodded. Good. Let's continue. Lin Yi picked up Skybolt Pig and strode towards the top of the mountain. What made Lin Yi feel strange was that although the map clearly indicated that this was an extremely dangerous place, Lin Yi hadn't encountered any danger along the way. This made Lin Yi feel strange and suspicious. Did the Heavenly Elixir sect make a mistake? In other words, this place was an extremely dangerous place many, hundreds, even thousands of years ago, but perhaps the danger no longer existed. Otherwise, Lin Yi couldn't explain why he was safe and sound all this time, not running into any danger. At the top of the mountain, Lin Yi finally set foot on it. Standing there, Lin Yi wanted to see the whole scene of the trial ground, but he didn't expect that there would be a thick fog in the distance, so he couldn't see far. Maybe this was the natural climate of the trial ground. Lin Yi shook his head and didn't spend too much time on this matter. Instead, he asked Skybolt Pig, "We have reached the top of the mountain. Where is the treasure?" GG. Skybolt Pig turned his head and pointed at the cave in the distance. However, before Lin Yi could answer, a huge fluctuation of chi suddenly came. Not only Lin Yi's heart trembled, but even Skybolt Pig's hair stood up. Skybolt Pig rarely stood up since he started following Lin Yi. Whenever he encountered danger, his hair would stand up, carrying poison. Lin Yi had seen it once in the ancient tomb, and this time, Skybolt Pig's hair unconsciously stood up, which was enough to show how terrifying that aura was. Following the direction of the energy fluctuation, Lin Yi raised his head and looked in that direction. Not far from the mountain peak, there was a flash of colorful lights in the blue sky. These lights contained a violent energy fluctuation, and a loud rumbling sound was like the thunder before a storm, causing Lin Yi to feel an indescribable pressure. Boom! This was the sound of the collision of energy. Lin Yi focused his gaze and found that the sound came from the cave at the top of the mountain, and the colorful energy collision also came from that cave. Boom! Another loud sound was heard, and the explosive energy carried sand and stones in all directions. The entire mountain was suddenly filled with flying sand and stones, and the originally pure sky suddenly became gray. Even though Lin Yi was a cultivator, he was still a bit afraid of this strange phenomenon. What is this sound? Is this a battle between experts? Is there someone there? Or are two spirit beasts having a sword duel at Mount Hua? Lin Yi took a deep breath and muttered to himself. GG. Skybolt Pig nodded his head, then shook it. You mean there is someone there? A man and a spirit beast are fighting? Lin Yi looked at Skybolt Pig in surprise. Chapter 2798. Lin Yi's jade didn't warn him, but even if there was an earth-shattering battle, it wouldn't hurt Lin Yi. It made sense that the jade wouldn't warn him. A battle between a man and a beast. How did they create such a terrifying clash of energy? Lin Yi's eyes went wide, finding it hard to believe. Could it be that a participant was teleported to the top of the mountain, and there was a spirit beast there, and they started fighting? At the thought, Lin Yi hesitated. He didn't know if he should do something about it. Even if he didn't get close, Lin Yi could tell that the two weren't weak just from witnessing the battle from afar. It wasn't that Lin Yi couldn't create something like this, but Lin Yi made an energy bomb. So, it was strange that other people or spirit beasts could create something like this. Lin Yi was a little hesitant as he stared at the cave in the distance. There was still the sound of energy clashing, and the man and the beast were probably fighting fiercely. Should he go or not? At that moment, another thunderous sound rang in Lin Yi's ears. The ground beneath Lin Yi's feet started shaking, making Lin Yi hesitate. What if the person in the cave is Feng Shipian or Li Siba? Lin Yi hesitated. Of course, as far as Lin Yi was concerned, the person in the cave couldn't be Guxian, Qikuan, or Yang Qiqi. If it were those three, they'd be dead already. There was no way they'd be fighting so intensely with the spirit beast. The cultivator in the cave should be at least a heaven-rank initial stage expert. Let's go see. Lin Yi gritted his teeth. Since he was here, Lin Yi didn't want to leave the treasure in the cave, and he was worried about the person in the cave. Since the decision was made, Lin Yi didn't linger any longer. He strode towards the cave. The path to the mountaintop was easy, and Lin Yi sped towards the cave. Not far from the cave, the sounds of battle were getting clearer and clearer, and the energy coming from the cave made Lin Yi feel a pressure he'd never felt before. At this moment, Lin Yi finally understood that the person fighting here was definitely not just a sky-class early phase. It was very likely that he was a sky-class late phase or even a sky-class late phase peak. Even standing at the entrance of the cave, Lin Yi couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. That powerful aura wasn't something he could handle. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yi wanted to give up. But since he was here, he wasn't willing to not take a look. After hesitating for a moment, Lin Yi carefully walked towards the cave. When he arrived at the entrance of the cave, the first thing that caught Lin Yi's eyes was a huge spirit beast. This spirit beast was abnormally huge, even bigger than any spirit beast Lin Yi had seen before. Its body length alone was a full 10 meters. It had 4 sturdy claws, a long tail, a long neck, and on its back, there was a row of hard sword-like teeth. If it wasn't for the fact that Lin Yi had seen too many strange spirit beasts, he would have thought that he had returned to the Jurassic or Cretaceous period. Because this was clearly a dinosaur. Although Lin Yi couldn't tell what dinosaur it was, no matter its size or appearance, it was a living dinosaur. Looking at the strength of this spirit beast, Lin Yi was shocked. This was actually a spirit beast with the strength of the Great Perfection late stage of Heaven stage. This was a spirit beast whose cultivation was infinitely close to the heavenly Tao. Moreover, it seemed to be a spirit beast with super strong attack power. Roar! What Lin Yi didn't expect was that along with the howl of this dinosaur, it actually spat out a ball of fire from its mouth. This was actually a mutated dinosaur that could spit fire? In a blink of an eye, the target of the ball of fire was a human cultivator. What surprised Lin Yi was that the human cultivator was actually a young girl. That curvaceous body, that light yellow tight miniskirt, Lin Yi was quite taken aback. He didn't think that it would be a female practitioner fighting the dinosaur. The girl in the yellow dress quickly formed a seal with her hands, activating some sort of martial art. A strong light shot out of her hands like a pillar of water, hitting the ball of fire. As expected of a sky-class late-phase peak master, Lin Yi was shocked as he tried to recall if there was a master as strong as this among the people who participated in the trial. But the Sky Elixir Sex test was different from the Ice Palace's test. During the registration, Kong Mingming didn't check the strength of the applicants one by one, nor did he reveal their background. So, only those who were familiar with each other would know about the others. Lin Yi was the same. He was busy talking with Feng Shiyan, Li Siba, Gu Xian, Qikuan, and Yang Qiqi. He didn't pay attention to the others, so Lin Yi really didn't have much of an impression of this girl. Boom dash! The sound of thunder exploded in Lin Yi's ears once more. Since the distance was too close, the sound seemed to be transmitted into Lin Yi's body, making Lin Yi's legs tremble. Too strong. The ball of flame and the water column collided, producing a huge collision of energy. That was also the reason why the loud sound came out. Roar dash! The dinosaur roared again, not stopping. From its mouth, it spat out another huge ball of energy, but this time it wasn't a fire, it was a ball of water. This shocked Lin Yi. Just what kind of spirit beast was this? It was spitting fire just now, and now it was spitting water? Was this spirit beast a fire or a water element? However, if Lin Yi was shocked at this moment, then he was completely confused in the next moment. This girl, the girl who had just released the water pillar technique, actually pointed at the water ball with her right hand, and a fireball shot out from her fingertip. Boom dash! The sound of thunder rang out once more, but this time, Lin Yi didn't move. He was in a state of confusion. Lin Yi couldn't figure out the attributes of this spirit beast, and this girl's attributes were driving Lin Yi crazy as well. The ball of water and the fireball collided once more, and after a huge explosion, they slowly dissipated. Chapter 2799. But now, the dinosaur didn't seem to be doing anything, but the girl was starting to get tired. Oink oink. The pig's cry reminded Lin Yi that he wasn't here to watch the fight, but to search for treasures. It seemed like the treasure the pig was referring to was in this cave. The pig's cry was far from the dinosaur's roar and the thunderous sound of the energy collision, but it still caught the girl's attention. She turned to the entrance of the cave and saw Lin Yi. This was the first time Lin Yi saw the girl's face, and it made him hold his breath. Even though Lin Yi had a lot of beauties around him, he was still deeply shocked by the girl's beauty. How could there be such a beauty in this world? It wasn't that Meng Yao and Yushu weren't beautiful, but the girl in front of him had an indescribable aura around her. It was a feeling that deeply attracted Lin Yi. Although Bingtang was also a sky-class late-phase peak beauty, compared to the girl in front of him, Bingtang's aura was cold and not aura. The girl evidently didn't expect someone to come at this time. She paused and said, You are also a participant this time, right? Can you help me? We'll hold this beast together. We just need 10 more minutes. Why should I help you? Lin Yi didn't let the girl's beauty get to his head. The girl was beautiful, but Lin Yi wasn't the type of person who would get dizzy after seeing a beauty. This beast was clearly very dangerous, and even the girl, a sky-class late-phase peak, couldn't do anything about it. Wouldn't he be seeking death if he went? I have 2 herbs for the trial in my bag. If you help me, I can give you one as a reward. The girl said. Lin Yi was hesitating when the dinosaur made another move. Evidently, the dinosaur had noticed Lin Yi as well, but perhaps it thought that Lin Yi was weak, or that Lin Yi hadn't entered the cave yet, so the beast didn't turn to attack Lin Yi. As Lin Yi and the girl were talking, the dinosaur spat out another. More accurately, it had a metallic glow to it. Lin Yi froze. This beast spat out water and fire, and now it spat out a metallic energy ball. Just what kind of element was this beast? The girl didn't have time to say anything to Lin Yi. She hurriedly activated a technique as well, and a beam of golden light shot out from the girl's hands, wrapping around the golden energy ball. The two fused together, enlarging and exploding. At this moment, Lin Yi really couldn't figure out where the dinosaur and the girl came from. It wasn't strange for the beast to be able to use metal, water, and fire attribute skills, but the girl could also use metal, fire, and water attribute skills. This was simply outrageous to Lin Yi. Could it be that this girl was a tri-attribute cultivator? Just as Lin Yi was puzzled, suddenly, a multicolored light emitted from inside the cave. This was the same multicolored light that Lin Yi saw from afar. When he reached the entrance of the cave, Lin Yi was still puzzled as to why he didn't see the same multicolored light in the cave. He didn't expect that the same multicolored light would appear inside the cave at this moment. "A woo!" the dinosaur roared angrily, and Lin Yi was shocked. This roar was far louder than the previous roars, as if the dinosaur was angry. However, what puzzled Lin Yi was that after the dinosaur roared, it didn't use any skills. Instead, it just stood there motionless. Looking at the girl again, her face was full of shock. However, there was a hint of relief on her face, as if she had achieved some kind of goal. This strange situation, no matter how one looked at it, was incomparably strange. Lin Yi didn't know what was happening, and he wanted to leave. However, the multicolored light emitted from the cave seemed to have a mind of its own, calling out to Lin Yi. "Come in. Come in quickly." Lin Yi's legs seemed to be guided by something involuntarily, and he walked into the cave. Cold sweat immediately dripped from Lin Yi's forehead. This was the first time he encountered such a strange situation. He couldn't control his legs. It must be said that it was normal to not be able to move one's legs after being frightened, but this was the first time Lin Yi encountered a situation where his legs were walking on their own. However, Lin Yi couldn't stop now even if he wanted to. He was attracted into the cave, and he was about to approach the dinosaur. "Stop, stop." Lin Yi's forehead was covered in cold sweat. If he passed by the dinosaur and it threw a fireball at him, wouldn't he die on the spot? However, Lin Yi couldn't control his legs. 1 step, 2 steps. Lin Yi was getting closer and closer to the dinosaur. However, when Lin Yi passed by the dinosaur didn't even look at Lin Yi. It was still angrily staring at the source of the multicolored light in the depths of the cave. Until Lin Yi walked past the dinosaur didn't react at all. Lin Yi's heart suddenly relaxed, but his legs still couldn't control him as he walked deeper into the cave. He was about to reach the place where the girl was just now. At this time, just as Lin Yi was about to say something to the girl, the multicolored light in the depths of the cave suddenly became dazzling and dazzling. That dazzling light instantly enveloped the entire cave. Lin Yi's vision turned into a multicolored light in an instant. He couldn't see anything else. Even the girl and the dinosaur that were right in front of him disappeared. That multicolored light didn't seem to be as simple as light. In the next moment, Lin Yi felt that the multicolored light seemed to be an invisible pressure that invaded Lin Yi's body from the depths of the cave. It made Lin Yi's body feel a stabbing pain. This feeling was like something was about to enter his body. It was like a sign before a breakthrough, but it was also completely different. That multicolored light was like true energy that entered Lin Yi's body bit by bit. The stabbing pain became more and more intense. Chapter 2800. After Lin Yi confirmed that the light wouldn't harm him, Lin Yi closed his eyes and stood there. Since he couldn't resist, he might as well enjoy it quietly. 5-element sect. Patriarch Xianzhen's expression wasn't good. Xianchen, why didn't you tell me that you wanted her to participate in the trial? Don't you know that it's very dangerous? And the place she's going to is the most dangerous of all dangers. Patriarch Xianzhen frowned as he looked at Patriarch Xianchen. Second senior brother, she's going to accept the inheritance. This is for the great plan of our 5-element sect. Patriarch Xianchen smiled. I know she's your proud disciple, but have you thought about it? If you stop her from accepting the inheritance just because she's your disciple, will you be able to face the ancestors of our 5-element sect? Patriarch Xianzhen was speechless. Indeed, compared to the inheritance, nothing was as important. But you should have told me. I need to be prepared. Even if I didn't say it, second senior brother already knows. Patriarch Xianchen smiled. It seems that second senior brother has a lot of connections in the heavenly elixir sect. You're quite well informed. Patriarch Xianzhen's heart skipped a beat. He suddenly felt that he had said too much. However, from what Patriarch Xianchen said, it seemed that he already knew that Patriarch Xianzhen had a close relationship with the heavenly elixir sect. Sigh, so many earth rank and heaven rank trial takers have been sacrificed for the great plan of our sect. How can I bear to do that? Patriarch Xianzhen sighed. I'm not just worried about her safety. I'm more worried about the lives of those cultivators. The heavenly elixir sect's trial isn't forced to participate. If they die, they can only blame themselves for not being strong enough. Who can they blame? Patriarch Xianchen didn't care. Sigh, it's not easy for cultivators to cultivate to this level. They have suffered countless hardships to advance to this level. If they die just like that. Patriarch Xianzhen said helplessly. Second senior brother, you're too benevolent. How can those who do great things be soft-hearted? For the sake of our heavenly elixir sect's grand plan, even if we sacrifice all the ancient sects, so what? Patriarch Xianchen said indifferently. Sigh. Ancestor Xianzhen didn't agree with Ancestor Xuanchen's approach, but he couldn't say anything. Firstly, his authority in the heavenly elixir sect wasn't as high as Ancestor Xianchen, so it was useless for him to say anything. Secondly, Ancestor Xianchen always used the 5-element sect's grand plan to suppress him, so he couldn't say anything else. All right, second senior, although she is your disciple, she is also my spy. I'm more worried than you. Patriarch Xianchen still had use for Patriarch Xianzhen, so he naturally wouldn't offend him too much. Thus he consoled, actually, if you want to blame someone for this, it's the person who crippled Tagunlong. If it weren't for him, why would we need to use a spy? XT senior patriarch do long as XT long as XTT long get XT well as he got the blame. Well, ancestor well XT well. Hee, in my eyes, whoever is weak is to be blamed, Patriarch Xianchen said. Patriarch Xianzhen didn't say anything else. He knew it was useless to say anything else. Heavenly Elixir Sect. Kong Ming rushed back with Tianji. Although Kong Ming didn't show up the next day, he was waiting for Tianji at the inn. When Tianji returned, they would return to the Heavenly Elixir Sect together. Big brother Kong, the young sect master is looking for you. As soon as Kong Ming returned, he was stopped by Little Peach. Ah, the young sect master is looking for me? I'll be right there. Kong Ming didn't even bother to go to the toilet. He went to the courtyard where the silkworm transformation was located with Little Peach. Big brother Kong, the young master doesn't seem to be in a good mood these 2 days. Little Peach went to serve him, but was driven out by him. You have to be careful in a while. Don't anger the young master. Little Peach reminded him on the way. Oh, really? Then I'll have to be careful. Kong Xiaoming quickly nodded and remembered it in his heart. I don't know why the young master is so angry. What should I pay attention to later? Actually, it's nothing. The young sect master will be in a bad mood for a few days every month. Little Peach didn't continue. How many days a month do you feel down? It's not like a woman is on her period. Why would he be in a bad mood? Kong Ming asked curiously. Shoo! Little Peach's face changed and she was shocked. Big brother Kong, don't talk nonsense. Be careful of getting yourself killed. You slandering the young sect master is a capital offense. I know. Kong Ming was also shocked. He looked around and said, Aren't I telling you now? I don't dare to say it to others. N. Little Peach nodded and said, generally, at the end of every month, when the people below report the medicinal pill sales data, the young sect master will be in a bad mood. Don't guess randomly. I understand. Kong Ming quickly nodded and said yes. Ha! But it doesn't seem to be the end of the month now? Little Peach was also a little confused. She shook her head and said, don't ask so much. Kong Ming nodded and no longer asked. The two people came to the courtyard where Heavenly Silkworm Transformation was located. It was still the courtyard from before. Little Peach knocked on the door and said to the inside, young sect master, Elder Kong is here. Oh, invite him in. In the courtyard room, Heavenly Silkworm Transformations in different voice came. Yes. Little Peach hurriedly pushed the door open and walked into the courtyard with Kong Ming and entered the room. Little Peach, you go make tea. Heavenly Silkworm Transformation seemed to be reading something. After Kong Ming and Little Peach came in, he put the book in his hand aside and then instructed Little Peach. Yes, young sect master. Little Peach hurriedly went to make tea. Ha! Young sect master, I haven't seen you for a few days. You seem to have become much more handsome. Kong Ming raised his head and met Heavenly Silkworm Transformation's gaze. He felt that Heavenly Silkworm Transformation seemed to have become much more handsome after not seeing him for a few days. He was originally prepared to carry shoes for Heavenly Silkworm Transformation, so he naturally wouldn't let go of this good opportunity to flatter him. However, Heavenly Silkworm Transformation frowned and interrupted Kong Ming's words. Elder Kong, let me ask you. How many Heaven Stage Trial Takers and Earth Stage Trial Takers participated in this trial? Chapter 2801. Oh, then I'll have to trouble you, Xiaoming. Silkworm Transformation nodded. It's no trouble. It's my honor to be in charge of this for you, Kong Xiaoming said as he took out a booklet from his pocket. It was the booklet he had registered before. Kong Xiaoming opened it and started counting. After a while he said to Tian Silkworm, young master, there are a total of 24 Sky Class Masters, 19 Earth Class Masters, and 8 Mystic Class Masters. There's no need to report the Profound Stage Masters. Silkworm Transformation waved his hand and interrupted Kong Ming's words. Then he said to himself, a total of 43, 2 a day, almost 22 days. It should be enough time for them to return safely. Young master, what did you say? Kong Ming didn't understand what Silkworm Transformation was talking about. Nothing. Silkworm Transformation shook his head and looked relieved. He said to Kong Ming, Xiaoming, don't mention what I asked you just now to anyone. Don't worry, young master. I'm your dog. If you don't let me bark, I won't dare to. Kong Ming said quickly. That's good. Silkworm Transformation nodded and said, I'm a little tired. Xiaoming can also see that young master seems to be a little tired. Do you want me to give you a massage? Kong Ming asked. Massage? Silkworm Transformation was stunned. He hesitated but didn't answer immediately. Young master, do you forget that Xiaoming's massage skill was taught by Xianxia ancestor? It's very good. Kong Ming saw Silkworm Transformation's hesitation and felt that there was a chance. Okay, Xiaoming, come on. Silkworm Transformation nodded, indicating that Kong Ming could give him a massage. When Kong Ming saw that the Silkworm Transformation had agreed, he was overjoyed. He thought to himself, sure enough, hard work pays off. As long as you have perseverance, you can grind an iron bar into a needle. He quickly got up and carefully stood behind the Silkworm Transformation, massaging his head and shoulders. Little Peach went to brew some tea and walked into the room with the tea tray. Suddenly, she saw Kong Ming massaging Heavenly Silkworm Transformation. She was so shocked that she almost dropped the tea tray in her hand. She was shocked in her heart. Kong Ming was really bold. He actually dared to massage Heavenly Silkworm Transformation? What was even stranger was why Silkworm Change agreed to have Kong Ming massage him. However, when Little Peach saw that Heavenly Silkworm Transformation seemed to appreciate Kong Ming, she was happy and worried. She placed the tea tray on the table and said, Young master, the tea is ready. Oh, Xiaoming. Your massage is almost done. Drink some tea. I'm going to read too. As Heavenly Silkworm Transformation spoke, he picked up the book beside his hand. It was a book on alchemy. Then Xiaoming won't disturb young master. Xiao Ming will leave first. How could Kong Ming dare to drink tea? He knew that Heavenly Silkworm Transformation was just being polite by asking him to drink tea. Heavenly Silkworm Transformation had already gone to read, so why would he drink tea? Oh, then Little Peach, help me send Xiao Ming off. Heavenly Silkworm Transformation waved his hand and said to Little Peach, then find something to do. I want to read by myself. Yes. Little Peach quickly agreed and left Heavenly Silkworm Transformation's room with Kong Ming. When the two of them left the courtyard together, Little Peach breathed a sigh of relief and said, Brother Kong, why are you so bold to massage young master? I was just asking. I didn't expect young master to agree. Kong Ming was also a little puzzled and said, Is it because young master thinks that I'm reliable and thinks highly of me? It's possible, but you still have to be careful. Little Peach also felt that it was a little strange. Don't worry. Young master seems to be very happy. When I become his confidant, I will propose marriage to him. Kong Ming said, At that time, we will both be his confidants. Okay. Little Peach wanted to say something more, but she was fascinated by Kong Ming's proposal. She was looking forward to it. In the cave, the colorful light had been flickering for a long time. According to Lin Yi's estimation, it was at least a day and a night, or even longer. However, this feeling of pain and happiness made Lin Yi feel comfortable. The light seemed to be nourishing the meridians in Lin Yi's body, but it didn't seem to be meridians. Lin Yi didn't know what it was, but it made him feel very comfortable. At this moment, he felt like he was in a mysterious space, and the time around him seemed to have stopped. He didn't know how much time had passed, but the light in front of him gradually dimmed, and he returned to reality from the mysterious state he was in before. A beautiful face appeared in front of Lin Yi. It was the beautiful woman in the cave before. Only then did Lin Yi realize that he was so close to her. The two of them were almost face to face, and they were about to touch. Lin Yi could see the beautiful woman, and the beautiful woman could naturally see Lin Yi. She was also shocked by Lin Yi, who suddenly appeared in front of her. She exclaimed in surprise, Ah! Ugh! Lin Yi just wanted to explain that he couldn't help it. He was about to take 2 steps back, but he didn't expect a loud roar to suddenly come from behind Lin Yi. Roar! The dinosaur seemed to have returned to its normal state, and suddenly let out an angry roar. A powerful energy flow directly pushed Lin Yi to the body of the beautiful woman in front of him. Lin Yi opened his mouth to speak, and the beautiful woman was also stunned, so the two mouths of Lin Yi and the beautiful woman were facing each other. The strong energy flow pushed the two to the ground, just like how Lin Yi had pounced on the girl. Both of them had just recovered from the shock, and hadn't used their arts to protect themselves yet, so they fell to the ground easily. The two of them kissed, and this feeling couldn't help but make Lin Yi stunned. He didn't expect that the two of them would meet in such an ambiguous scene. However, this wonderful feeling made Lin Yi's heart instantly moved. Although it was the first time they met, anyone would be moved by such a beautiful woman full of spiritual energy. Ugh! The girl's body trembled. She also didn't expect this scene to appear in front of her. She pushed Lin Yi away and glared at Lin Yi. You still don't want to get up? Chapter 2802. The girl glared at Lin Yi, feeling a little embarrassed. This was her first kiss, and she didn't expect to lose it here. However, although she was angry, she didn't forget what was happening in front of her. Although the Light of 5 Evils was successfully activated, she didn't expect the Dragon of 5 Evils to return to the cave early. She didn't know whether the inheritance was successful or not. Moreover, the most important thing now was how to successfully escape from here. Looking at the Dragon of 5 Evils, it was obviously extremely angry. Its eyes had turned red, as if it was going to swallow someone. Be careful. The beautiful girl didn't have time to blame Lin Yi at this moment. She saw the Dragon of 5 Evils spit out a fireball, which smashed right at Lin Yi's back. Boom! Lin Yi didn't have time to dodge and was hit by the Dragon of 5 Evils fireball. Suddenly, the skin on Lin Yi's back was torn open. This was even after Lin Yi heard the beautiful girl's reminder and quickly circulated the mantra to protect his body. Otherwise, even if Lin Yi didn't die, it would be hard for him to survive. Even so, Lin Yi's back was still hit until it caved in. If it was a normal cultivator, they probably wouldn't be able to survive. The beautiful girl also took advantage of this moment to climb up from under Lin Yi's body. She glanced at Lin Yi, and a trace of sympathy flashed in her eyes. Just now, when the Dragon of Five Evils suddenly activated its skill, if it wasn't for Lin Yi blocking in front of her, perhaps she wouldn't have been able to dodge it in a short time. Even if her strength was higher than Lin Yi's and she wasn't beaten so badly, she probably wouldn't have been able to escape in a short time. Therefore, the beautiful girl's heart was still filled with gratitude towards Lin Yi. If it wasn't for him blocking, she would have been in danger today. Therefore, when Lin Yi forcefully kissed her before, the beautiful girl didn't have much resistance and dissatisfaction in her heart. At this time, the beautiful woman also put her palms together and formed a seal. She suddenly pushed them out, and a strange light shot out from her hands towards the Five Evils dragon. Lin Yi took this opportunity to quickly crawl to a safe place on the side. He quickly activated the second stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery, preparing to heal his injuries. His injuries were too severe. If he didn't heal in time, he might die. When Lin Yi saw the beautiful woman going to fight the Five Evils dragon, he heaved a sigh of relief. However, at the same time, he suddenly felt that the martial technique that the beautiful woman had executed was somewhat familiar. However, because Lin Yi had hurriedly dodged to the side, he did not see it clearly. Moreover, Lin Yi was in a rush to recover from his injuries, so he did not have the time to think about it. Boom! The beautiful woman's martial skill exploded on the Five Evils dragon's body. The Five Evils dragon retreated 2 steps and roared furiously. Its voice was filled with rage. It seemed that the beautiful woman's martial skill had angered it, and the martial skill that she had used was most likely an ultimate martial skill. Roar! The Five Evils dragon had clearly lost its patience. Previously, it had only activated its martial skill. Perhaps it had the mentality of teaching the beautiful woman a lesson, but perhaps because the beautiful woman's martial skill was very powerful, it did not want to continue fighting with her. It stretched out its claws and clawed at the beautiful woman. Ah! The beautiful woman cried out in alarm. Even if she was a peak late-stage heaven-class expert, she was no match for the Five Evils dragon in terms of size and speed. She was instantly caught by the Five Evils dragon's claws, and the Five Evils dragon's nails directly pierced into the beautiful woman's chest. The beautiful woman's face immediately turned pale. It seemed that the Five Evils dragon had not used its full strength before. What happened afterwards had angered the Five Evils dragon, so it lost its patience and directly grabbed the beautiful woman. Although Lin Yi wanted to help, he could not even take care of himself right now. How could he have the time to save the beautiful woman? Moreover, even if he did save her, Lin Yi was no match for the Five Evils dragon. Even a peak late-stage heaven-class expert's martial skill was ineffective against the Five Evils dragon. How could Lin Yi defeat it? The Five Evils dragon was obviously not stupid. It grabbed the beautiful woman and went all the way to the entrance of the cave. It grabbed the beautiful woman's claw and spun it a few times in the air. Then it let go. The beautiful woman was like a cannonball. With a whoosh, she was thrown towards the back of the mountain and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The corner of Lin Yi's mouth twitched. At this moment, he realized that a peak late-stage heaven-class cultivator was helpless and insignificant in front of a powerful spiritual beast. Especially in front of such a huge spiritual beast. Lin Yi finally understood why the trial map had specially marked this place as an extremely dangerous place. With the Five Evils dragon here, perhaps only a heavenly Dao expert could go against it. After the beautiful woman was thrown away, the Five Evils dragon turned around and walked step by step towards Lin Yi in the cave. Lin Yi's forehead instantly broke out in a cold sweat. However, there was nothing he could do at this moment. Not to mention that Lin Yi was heavily injured. Even if he was not, he would not be a match for the Five Evils dragon. If it was a blessing, it would not be a disaster. If it was a disaster, he could not avoid it. Lin Yi carried this kind of fearless attitude and continued to madly use the second level of the Art of Dragon Mastery to heal his injuries. However, the Five Evils dragon had no intention of letting Lin Yi go. It reached out and grabbed Lin Yi. However, Lin Yi was luckier than the beautiful woman. The Five Evils dragon's nails did not pierce into Lin Yi's body. Then, the Five Evils dragon turned its body nimbly and grabbed Lin Yi, walking towards the entrance of the cave. It seemed that he was most likely going to end up like the beautiful woman and become a flying man. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and looked at Skybolt Pig, who was at the entrance of the cave. At this moment, this little fellow was saying something to the Five Evils dragon. However, the Five Evils dragon obviously had no intention of paying attention to him. It was annoyed by Skybolt Pig's words. It reached out and grabbed Skybolt Pig and Lin Yi together. Just like before, it swung its claws twice and with a whoosh, it threw both Lin Yi and Skybolt Pig towards the back of the mountain. All Lin Yi could hear was the sound of the wind. He was flying towards the valley at the back of the mountain at an extremely fast speed. Lin Yi did not dare to slow down. Although the Five Evils dragon did not use any skills, its terrifying speed was already too much for Lin Yi to bear. If he did not use his true qi to protect his body, he would probably become a pile of minced meat. Skybolt Pig, be careful when you land later. Don't forget to use your true qi to protect your body. Otherwise, both of us will die. Lin Yi reminded as he flew. GG. Skybolt Pig nodded. Chapter 2803. Originally, Lin Yi was already severely injured. Now that he was thrown by the Five Evils dragon, he was forced into the space of the Jade Pendant. Lin Yi's injuries were too severe. At this moment, he couldn't care less about Skybolt Pig and the beautiful woman's injuries. Lin Yi could only heal his own injuries first. After entering the space of the Jade Pendant, Lin Yi quickly activated the second stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery to heal his internal injuries. Time was always slow when it came to healing, especially when he was worried about Skybolt Pig and the girl's safety. All he could do was increase the speed of his practitioner's arts, as fast as he could, to heal himself as fast as he could. However, what Lin Yi didn't expect was that the mental cultivation method was circulating faster and faster. It was like a speeding car that was out of control. It was getting faster and faster. It was so fast that it was frightening. Lin Yi quickly slowed down the circulation speed of the mental cultivation method. However, even though Lin Yi slowed down the circulation speed of the mental cultivation method, in reality, the circulation speed of the mental cultivation method did not slow down at all. Moreover, Lin Yi realized that the huge amount of vital energy in the space of the Jade Pendant was rushing into his body from all directions. This sudden change shocked Lin Yi. What's going on? I just want to heal my injuries quickly. Why does it feel like I'm losing control of my mental cultivation method? Is this a sign of qi deviation? However, this feeling gave Lin Yi a familiar feeling. It seemed like he had experienced this before. The vital energy surged endlessly into Lin Yi's body. In an instant, Lin Yi felt like his body was about to explode. However, there was nothing he could do. He had already stopped the circulation of the mental cultivation method, but it was of no use. Cold sweat broke out on Lin Yi's forehead. What's going on? Could it be that I really have qi deviation? Lin Yi asked anxiously, Jiao Lao, what's going on? I can't control my true qi. What should I do? What should we do? Jiao Yazi glanced at Lin Yi and said indifferently, Isn't this normal? Very normal? Lin Yi was stunned. He was about to die from anxiety. Jiao Yazi actually used such a calm tone to talk to him. It was simply frightening. Yeah, aren't you going to break through soon? This is a good thing. Why are you so scared? Jiao Yazi said indifferently. What? Breakthrough? Haven't I only been in Earth class late phase for a few days? Lin Yi was even more stunned. He had just broken through to the late stage of Earth class, and hadn't even touched the barrier to the full circle. How could he have broken through? Wasn't this a little too fast? Who told you that you're about to break through to late Earth class? Jiao Yazi rolled his eyes and said, I'm talking about your Art of Dragon Mastery. You're about to break through to the second stage and reach the full circle of the second stage. Cough, cough. Lin Yi was so shocked by Jiao Yazi's words that he almost vomited blood. He was just about to ask when he suddenly remembered the first time he entered the space in the Jade Pendant. Indeed, when he broke through to the full circle of the first stage, the feeling was very similar to what he was feeling now. No wonder Lin Yi felt that it was familiar. It was the first time he broke through his practitioner's heart. It had been a long time, and Lin Yi had been breaking through in terms of strength the whole time, not his practitioner's heart, so he'd forgotten about it. Thinking of this, Lin Yi finally calmed down and allowed the energy around him to flow into his body. At this moment, Lin Yi's body was like a magnet, constantly absorbing the energy around him. The energy in Lin Yi's body was increasing, and gradually, Lin Yi felt that his body could no longer withstand the huge amount of energy. Then, his whole body exploded like a firecracker. With a loud bang, the clothes on his body instantly turned into charred pieces, flying in all directions. Breakthrough. Lin Yi didn't think that he would reach the full circle of the second stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery so quickly. Originally, This was something that would make Lin Yi jealous and have a headache, but he didn't expect to break through while he was healing. But, that's not right. Didn't they say that the prerequisite for breaking through to the full circle of the second stage of the art of dragon mastery was to convert the 5 elements in his body into real elements? But he didn't accept the inheritance, so how did it become real? Thinking of this, Lin Yi couldn't be bothered to enjoy the pleasure of breaking through, and quickly asked Zhao Yazi, Zhao Lao, the virtual elements in my body haven't been converted into real elements, so how did I break through to the full circle of the second stage of the art of dragon mastery? Of course. You now have the 5 elements of real elements, except for the mist and ice elements. But this won't affect the breakthrough of the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, because those 2 elements are sub-elements, so there's no need to convert them for now. Zhao Yazi said. Ah, already converted? When did it happen? Don't I have to go to the place of inheritance to accept the inheritance? Lin Yi was stunned, and felt that it was a little strange. When did he accept the inheritance? Just now. Zhao Yazi said. Just now. Lin Yi was stunned, and suddenly remembered the strange thing that happened in the cave. At that time he seemed to be in a strange and mysterious state. Could it be? That was the inheritance? But even if it was the inheritance, it wouldn't be the inheritance of 5 elements at once. The 5 elements were converted into real elements at the same time. This made Lin Yi feel like he was dreaming. When I was in the cave? That's the time. Zhao Yazi nodded and said, although I also don't know why you accepted the inheritance there is indeed the origin of the 5 elements there. Could it be that the land of 5 evils means the 5 elements? Lin Yi frowned. Previously, the characteristics of the qi of 5 evils seemed to be similar to the qi of the 5 elements. Could it be that he accidentally came to the land of 5 evils and accepted the inheritance? I'm not sure about this. Zhao Yazi said, I haven't been here either. But one thing is for sure, you have accepted the inheritance. Why do you still want to find out why you accepted the inheritance? Chapter 2804. Although Lin Yi's inheritance was fundamentally different from theirs, since Lin Yi could inherit it, they should also be able to inherit it. No. Lin Yi suddenly thought of a very important question. Zhao Lao, even if I can inherit the 5 elemental origin energy here, isn't there a prerequisite for inheriting the 5 elemental origin energy? That is, I have to make a series of complicated preparations, unlike normal inheritors who only need to comprehend the inheritance themselves. I didn't make any preparations, right? You didn't do it, but it doesn't mean that others didn't. Zhao Yazi said faintly, maybe it was done by that dinosaur or that little girl. They. After being reminded by Zhao Yazi, Lin Yi suddenly thought of an incomparably important matter. It was that beautiful girl's ultimate killing technique. At that time, Lin Yi felt that it was a little familiar, but because he was injured, he didn't have time to think about it. But now that he thought about it, Lin Yi suddenly felt that this technique was actually a little similar to his own technique. Yes, this is the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm. Connecting this to the strange brilliance on the girl's palm, Lin Yi suddenly thought of the scene when Tagan Long activated the technique. This girl actually knows the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm. This discovery made Lin Yi's heart jump. Could this girl be from the Tagan family? Perhaps. She's Tagan Long's sister? However, she could also be from the 5 Elements sect and had nothing to do with the Tagan family. However, no matter which force the girl belonged to, whether it was the Tagan family or the 5 Elements sect, she was still Lin Yi's enemy. Thinking of this, Lin Yi was a little hesitant. Should he save her or not? Lin Yi didn't want to save an enemy to deal with him for no reason. Although the beautiful girl was very beautiful, the poisonous mushroom was also very beautiful. If he ate it, he would die. When the art of dragon mastery reached the 2nd level, Lin Yi realized that his injuries were all healed. Lin Yi quickly returned to reality from the space in the jade pendant and saw Skybolt Pig anxiously guarding Lin Yi. Skybolt Pig, are you all right? Lin Yi looked at Skybolt Pig in shock. Skybolt Pig didn't seem to be injured at all. GG. Skybolt Pig nodded and wrote on the soft ground with his paw. My fur will stand up and it will act as a buffer. After he finished writing, the Skybolt Pig purposely stood up for Lin Yi to see. Then he bounced on the ground. This made Lin Yi speechless. This Skybolt Pig could even turn into an elastic ball. No wonder nothing happened. How's the girl? Lin Yi's heart was currently in a dilemma about the beautiful girl in yellow. Should he save her or not? If he saved her, Lin Yi was afraid that this person would turn against him and refuse to save her. Lin Yi thought about how he forcefully kissed her and how she reminded him when the Five Evils dragon attacked him. If it wasn't for her warning, he wouldn't have been able to activate the incantation in time to protect his body. If it wasn't for her warning, his injuries would have been even more severe. He didn't even know if he could have survived the fall from the valley. In a sense, the girl was Lin Yi's savior. If Lin Yi didn't save her, he wouldn't be able to bear it. GG. Skybolt Pig stretched out his paw and pointed in a direction not far away. You mean, she's over there? Let's go and take a look. Lin Yi stood up and walked with Skybolt Pig in the direction it pointed. As he walked, Lin Yi observed the place he was at. This was the valley behind the Five Evils mountain. Lin Yi looked up and saw that he had fallen from the Five Evils mountain range. His face changed instantly. This was a valley that couldn't be climbed. The mountain wall in front of him was extremely smooth. There wasn't even a foothold to climb. It wouldn't have mattered if the mountain was a bit short. Lin Yi was an Earth-class late-phase master, after all. He could jump up and try a few more times, and he would be able to reach the top. But this mountain was too high, and there was no way he could jump up. This mountain range was endless. Lin Yi didn't know if there was an end to it. At least, from the looks of it, Lin Yi couldn't go up. On the other side of the mountain range was a vast open space. Lin Yi didn't know what was on that side. In short, he couldn't see the end of it. This made Lin Yi's heart go cold. That dinosaur from before was really bad. It actually threw him into such a remote place. Even if he didn't fall to his death, he wouldn't be able to go back. He would be trapped to death here. At first, Lin Yi was thinking about whether or not he should save the beautiful woman. But now, it seemed that one more person meant one more strength. Lin Yi still didn't know how to escape from here. Having another heaven-class late-phase master by his side was always a good thing. Moreover, if he didn't say anything, the beautiful woman wouldn't know that he was her enemy. Let's get out of this place first. Then we'll go our separate ways. Following the direction that Skybolt Pig pointed, Lin Yi found the beautiful woman in the yellow dress in a pile of rubble. Looking at her, the beautiful woman in the yellow dress didn't suffer any other injuries except for the fatal wound on her chest. However, the girl's originally ruddy face was now extremely pale. It was enough to show that her injuries were not light. It seemed that when she fell down the cliff, she used the mantra to protect her body. That was why she didn't fall from such a high place without being smashed into meat paste. However, because she used all of her true chi to protect her body, she didn't seal the wound on her chest, causing her internal injuries to worsen. Lin Yi bent down and checked the girl's breath. She was still breathing, which made Lin Yi heave a sigh of relief. The beautiful woman in the yellow dress didn't die. Lin Yi began to check her injuries. Originally, Lin Yi thought that as long as he used the second level of the Art of Dragon Mastery to heal her internal injuries, it would be fine. But when Lin Yi took a closer look, he found that something was wrong. On the chest of the beautiful woman, there was a white dinosaur nail fragment that had pierced into her heart. It was so deep that it had almost pierced through her entire chest. If he didn't remove the dinosaur nail fragment, then even if Lin Yi used the Art of Dragon Mastery, he wouldn't be able to heal the beautiful woman's injuries. After all, it was an external obstruction. Chapter 2805. Therefore, in order to ensure that the beautiful woman could hold on, Lin Yi decided to heal her injuries first. Once the injury on her chest was healed, he could cut her open and take out the dinosaur nail. Anyway, she was a heaven stage practitioner. If she couldn't bear this little pain, how could she have the strength of a heaven stage practitioner? Thinking of this, Lin Yi didn't waste any time. He directly grasped the veins on the beautiful woman's wrists and quickly used the Art of Dragon Mastery. In an instant, Lin Yi's true chi surged into the beautiful woman's body. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that after the second stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery reached perfection, the healing speed was so fast. It was more than a third faster than before. Lin Yi was immediately overjoyed. This way, when he fought with a heaven stage practitioner, whether he was injured in battle or recovering his true chi after using a big move, he would be able to heal much faster than before. This was a life-saving measure. In fact, the yellow-dressed beautiful woman's injuries weren't as serious as Lin Yi's. Lin Yi was hit by the dinosaur skill, but the yellow-dressed beautiful woman only had her chest pierced by it. In comparison, Lin Yi's injuries were more serious. However, The yellow-dressed beautiful woman's injuries were already very serious in the eyes of other practitioners. A small rejuvenation pill couldn't save her, unless there was a third-stage great rejuvenation pill. The beautiful woman's injuries were quickly recovering under the effect of Lin Yi's all-purpose true qi. And Lin Yi didn't have to be too nervous with the skybolt pig guarding him. He focused on healing the beautiful woman and didn't have to worry about the safety of the people around him. But now, it seemed that there weren't any spirit beasts in this valley. The skybolt pig stood beside Lin Yi lazily, looking around. Finally, the beautiful woman's injuries were all healed. Except for the dinosaur nail on her chest, all her injuries were healed. However, Lin Yi only healed her injuries. He didn't help her recover her true qi. Lin Yi wasn't familiar with her, and he didn't know if she would be hostile to him when she woke up. So he had to wait until she woke up to determine if she was a friend or foe. After the beautiful woman's injuries were healed, Lin Yi undressed her. Although Lin Yi was a miracle doctor, he didn't have X-ray vision and hands. He couldn't perform surgery on the beautiful woman through her clothes. So Lin Yi had to undress her chest and perform the surgery. Of course, Lin Yi could wait for the beautiful woman to wake up and do it herself. But it was very dangerous. The beautiful woman wasn't a doctor. He wasn't a doctor. First, it would be very difficult to perform surgery on herself. Secondly, the dinosaur nail should be pierced to the side of the beauty, on the beautiful woman. Lin to be, the beautiful woman's heart to be. But, Lin Yi wasn't afraid. He could use the art of dragon mastery to heal her. So, Lin Yi decided to help her to the end. He removed the nail from her chest. But, Lin Yi was a little worried. He had to take off her clothes to heal her. What if she woke up and killed him? It wasn't that Lin Yi was overthinking, but with Yang Qiqi as an example, Lin Yi had to be careful. With that thought, Lin Yi quickly used his finger to press on the beautiful woman's body a couple of times. One was to seal the acupuncture points on her chest, and the other was to seal her acupoints so that she wouldn't be able to move even if she woke up. The beautiful woman was a sky-class late-phase peak, but she had used up most of her energy during the fight with the 5-Bane dragon. The last bit of energy she had was used to protect her body when she fell off the cliff. Lin Yi had already checked her. She had almost no energy left in her body. Even if she woke up, she wouldn't be able to use her energy to break through the seal. Lin Yi was doing this just in case. After everything was done, Lin Yi took off the clothes on the beautiful woman's chest. She wasn't wearing a brassy. She was only wearing a piece of yellow silk. Lin Yi took a deep breath and gritted his teeth as he took off the silk. A pair of snow-white jade rabbits jumped out into Lin Yi's sight. There was a dinosaur nail in the middle of the two rabbits, but it didn't affect the beauty at all. The wound had been repaired by Lin Yi, and all that was left was a dinosaur nail. Lin Yi's breathing quickened as he looked at the beautiful scene in front of him. What surprised Lin Yi was that they really were big. They weren't as big as Yushu's, but they were big enough compared to the girls Lin Yi knew. Lin Yi couldn't understand why they didn't look this big on the outside. Was it because he was bound by the yellow silk? Lin Yi shook his head. The beautiful woman probably thought that her big breasts would affect her agility in battle, so she used the silk to bind them. With a shake of his head, Lin Yi quickly prepared for the surgery. He took out a small knife and sterilized it with pure energy before making a quick cut on the girl's chest. He'd learned from old Lin since he was young, and his knife was fast and accurate. There was no hesitation at all, and the cut he made was just big enough to pull out the dinosaur's nails. Lin Yi quickly pulled out the nail and threw it to the side before reaching his hand out to touch the beautiful woman's wound. In actuality, Lin Yi could have healed her by holding her pulse, but he didn't know why he reached out and touched it. That soft, smooth, and wonderful feeling made Lin Yi's heart skip a beat. He subconsciously used his hand to knead it a couple of times. Lin Yi didn't know why he did that, but the beauty in front of him had an indescribable attraction to him. It was just like when he first laid eyes on her at the entrance of the cave. His heart had moved a little. Lin Yi didn't understand why, but there was something about the beautiful woman in front of him that made him want to do it. However, Lin Yi was a person who had gone through strict training, and his willpower was very strong. After a short moment of lust, he suddenly remembered that there was a deep wound on the beautiful woman's chest. He hurriedly used the art of dragon mastery and started to heal the beautiful woman's injury. The beautiful woman woke up as the injuries on her body healed. She thought she was going to die, and no one knew the situation better than she did. She was thrown off the cliff by the 5 Banes dragon with serious injuries. Even if she had qi to protect her body, if she didn't take a recover pill in time after falling, she would have died without a doubt. Chapter 2806. Therefore, even the beautiful woman herself did not think that she would be able to wake up. She felt that the functions in her body were recovering bit by bit. In a daze, it was as if someone was pinching her chest. The beautiful woman did not have any true qi in her body at all, and she was a little confused and dizzy. Therefore, even if she felt that something was wrong, she was unable to care about what had happened. It was not until Lin Yi's second level of the art of dragon mastery began to circulate and began to heal the wound on the beautiful woman's chest that the beautiful woman felt a burst of warmth in her body, causing her to wake up a little. And this time, the beautiful woman clearly felt that there was a pair of hands on her chest. The beautiful woman was shocked. She opened her eyes and saw that Lin Yi had his eyes closed and his hands on her chest. You, what are you doing? The beautiful woman subconsciously exclaimed. She wanted to slap him away, but she found that not only did she not have any true qi in her body to support her to do so, she could not even move if she wanted to. It was as if someone had sealed her acupuncture points. The beautiful woman was proficient in the art of medicine and alchemy. She knew about the human body's acupuncture points and the sealing of acupuncture points. Although she did not know how to do it, she still understood a little. She knew that there were some external cultivators who knew this kind of martial arts. However, at this moment, she did not have time to think about this. What she was thinking about now was what Lin Yi was going to do. The beautiful woman was ashamed and angry. Her beautiful eyes were wide open as she stared at Lin Yi. Her eyes could not wait to spit out flames of anger and burn Lin Yi to death. Healing your injuries. Lin Yi was also shocked when he saw that the beautiful woman had woken up. However, when he thought that her acupuncture points had been sealed by him and there was no true qi in her body, Lin Yi did not care. His hands were still on the beautiful woman's chest, healing her internal injuries. You? Healing my injuries? The beautiful woman was taken aback. She was not a brainless and impulsive person. Although she was extremely angry at the moment, after being reminded by Lin Yi, the beautiful woman suddenly realized that the injuries in her body had actually healed. The beautiful woman knew exactly how badly she was injured. She glanced to the side and saw the bloody nails of the 5 Evils dragon. The beautiful woman immediately understood that Lin Yi must have helped her remove the nails of the 5 Evils dragon. However, even if he had helped him remove the 5 Evils dragon's nails, how had he helped him heal his injuries? Could it be that he has a 3rd-grade great revitalizing pill? Or did he discover the 2 great cyclic pills on him? However, the beautiful woman denied her own thoughts. It was impossible for Lin Yi to have a 3rd-grade great revitalizing pill. Otherwise, he would not have asked Kong Ming Ming for a 3rd-grade great revitalizing pill. He should not have been able to refine it himself. In fact, in the cave, the beautiful woman recognized Lin Yi's identity when she first saw Lin Yi. She knew that he was Lin Yi and also knew some things about Lin Yi. The beautiful woman did not expect to meet Lin Yi here. Moreover, Lin Yi actually dared to go to the 5 Evils mountain. Could it be that Lin Yi stole my 2 great revitalizing pills? He had taken one himself, and now he was giving himself another one? This was the only explanation the beautiful woman could think of. After all, Lin Yi had suffered serious injuries. She knew very well that he was hit by the 5 Evils dragon's skill and was thrown off the cliff by the 5 Evils dragon. It was already good enough that he did not fall to his death. How could he have healed her injuries? However, even if Lin Yi took away her great revitalizing pill and took it, the beautiful woman would not blame Lin Yi. On the contrary, she felt that Lin Yi was a righteous person. If it was any other cultivator, if they found a great revitalizing pill on her, they would probably eat one and then take another. They would never let her eat it. They would leave her to fend for herself. How could they waste a great revitalizing pill? Therefore, the beautiful woman was very grateful to Lin Yi. If he had not given her a great revitalizing pill, she was afraid that she would have walked on the road to hell. Yes. How else do you think you recovered? Lin Yi pretended to be extremely serious and continued to massage the beautiful woman's chest as he defended his actions. The beautiful woman's expression changed slightly. A sharp light flashed in her eyes. Originally, she was very grateful to Lin Yi, but she did not expect that Lin Yi would take the opportunity to act like a hooligan. The beautiful woman suddenly had a murderous intent in her heart. Are you healing me? My injuries were healed by the great revitalizing pill. You used your hands to touch me. And you can heal me? Do you want to die? What great revitalizing pill. Lin Yi was stunned. He also felt the beautiful woman's killing intent. However, Lin Yi was also a little annoyed. I was saving you. Although I could have saved you without touching your chest, I touched it to save you. Besides, I brought a dead person back to life. Not only do you want to repay me with your body, but you also want to kill me? In anger, Lin Yi could not help but increase the strength of his hand. You. The beautiful woman was so angry that her face turned ashen. She wanted to jump up and kill Lin Yi, but she did not have any true qi in her body. Her acupuncture points were also sealed. However, this also gave the beautiful woman time to calm down. She wanted to say that Lin Yi was taking the opportunity to act like a hooligan and take advantage of her, but at this moment, she clearly felt that there was a burst of warmth coming from Lin Yi's palm, and the injury on her chest was miraculously healing. She was a cultivator at the peak of the late stage of heaven stage. Her perception was not ordinary. The healing of the wound made her extremely shocked. After feeling this strange change, the expression on the beautiful woman's face changed from anger to astonishment. What she did not expect was that Lin Yi was really healing her. Could it be that he could heal with his hands? The beautiful woman's beautiful eyes looked at Lin Yi in shock. Did he not use the great revitalizing pill? Yes, even if he used the great revitalizing pill, the injuries on her body would at most heal and scab. It was impossible to grow new skin so quickly. This was not realistic. Moreover, there would still be scars on her body. After all, no matter how powerful the great revitalizing pill was, the wound caused by the 5 evils dragon's nails was too big and too deep. It was difficult to not leave a scar. What's wrong with me? Lin Yi asked. Nothing. Thank you. The beautiful woman was a little shy. Although she felt that it was difficult for her to accept being pressed on her chest by Lin Yi was her savior. The beautiful woman was not a person who could not distinguish between good and bad.